Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. Not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good morning. I'm back. Good morning, my friends. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. It is Thursday, April 9th, 2026. And we're back. We're back. It is a Thursday. Yeah, it's Friday Eve, I guess, Mitchell, you could say, except for it's only 11 a.m. here on the East Coast. And so not exactly yet. Well, you can never tell. We have so much to talk about today. Rex Heuermann, pleading guilty. What? I have to tell you, as a Long Islander, this is very anticlimactic for me. As you know, if you've been following me for a long time, this is a very personal story to me. It's a very personal story, that of the Long Island serial killer, which we'll get into in a minute. We'll give people a chance to get in. I'm not really happy about it, I got to say. I'm not really happy about it. But before we get there, because I've been away for so long, let's see. I went to Oahu to visit the University of Hawaii with my daughter, who is thrilled that she has chosen to go to the University of Hawaii next year. So I will be an empty nester, which is very exciting for me. I don't know what I'll do except cry every single day. And then from Oahu, we flew into Honolulu. We drove to Turtle Bay. We spent 2 nights on the North Shore, which was amazing. My daughter surfed. We had a beautiful time. The weather was great. It wasn't even that hot. It was like mid 70s, but very windy. And so got color, even though it wasn't really sunshine the whole entire time. She did some surfing, and then we drove through the very, the areas of the North Shore that had been devastated by the recent flooding, and we shopped locally, and we did what we could for the economy. And a lot of people are canceling their trips to Hawaii. They need your tourism more than ever right now. They need your tourism. Please don't cancel. Everyone's telling me you should cancel, you shouldn't go, floods, whatever. No, they need it. They need it more than ever. So please go. And then we spent 2 nights in Honolulu. With a beautiful view. If you follow me on Instagram, I was posting stuff on my Instagram stories. Did a tour of the college, which is pretty amazing. I mean, their rooftop dorms, the rooftops of their dorms have the most amazing view I've ever seen. I thought the Flatirons view at CU Boulder was the most amazing college dorm view, but I gotta say, this one beats it. It's like a view of the football stadium and then the city of Honolulu, and you could see Waikiki, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Oh, thank you, Mass Dad. You sent me a bunch of stuff. You want me to check it right now? I can't. Right now, I'm on Heuermann, unless it's regarding Heuermann. I'm very easily distracted, so I will look at it in a moment. And then we flew from Honolulu to Denver through Salt Lake. So we took the red eye. We left Honolulu like 11. No, not 11. It was like but it's 6 hours earlier than the East Coast. So we left Honolulu Sunday night at like 7:30 p.m. on Hawaii time. And then we had a layover in Salt Lake for like 2 hours, and then we got to Denver. And so I feel like I missed a whole entire day. And then we spent 2 nights in Boulder, and now I'm back. I got back late last night, so we're back. And I was watching all of this stuff yesterday on the Long Island serial killer. I also, in between my sun tanning, I watched some of the Koenig trial that was in Honolulu, although I didn't have time to go there to the courthouse. And apparently he was found guilty last night of attempted manslaughter. So I'm not sure what his potential sentence is. I really didn't have a vested interest in that case anyway, either way. And so I'm not sure what his potential possible sentence is. Does anybody know? Like, for sure? Do you actually know what the range is for sentencing for him? 10 years max? Okay. I feel like that was kind of like a compromise verdict from the jury. I'm not really sure. I don't really know. And so there's that. I didn't really have, thank you, Mama of a Medic. I didn't really have a vested interest in that either way. I know that some of you have been watching the Tanner Horner, the Athena Strand trial, and also that defendant pled guilty on the morning that the trial started. And so the judge is going to direct the jury to find him guilty on the murder charge, and they are only going to decide death penalty for that guy. And he's claiming that he's on the autism spectrum, or that he's got a TBI. And so he shouldn't receive the death penalty. Thanks, Casey Paralegal. Tanner Horner. So disturbing. There's another trial that I fell into yesterday. The problem is that it's not fully being televised. I found one station that's televising it. It's a local station, and I couldn't even find openings. And this has to do with the murder of Jackson State University student Flynn Brown. There's a kid named Randall Smith who's on trial for the 2022 murder of Jackson State University student Flynn Brown. They were freshman roommates, and apparently got into some sort of an altercation over donuts. And he was murdered, and he was found inside of a parked vehicle on Jackson State University's campus. And I'm very interested in that. I just can't find enough coverage on it. So let me know if you're interested in it, and I'll dig further. But there's a picture of Flynn Brown and Coach Prime, because he spent 2 years at another college where he got his associates. And then he went on to Jackson State to be on the football team with Coach Prime. And then horrifically, the day after his murder, which was December 2nd of 2022, Coach Prime announced that he was leaving for Colorado. It's a very horrific story. And apparently he had reported this kid, who was one of his suite mates, to the university for some things that he had been doing about maybe stealing from him and stuff, and they did nothing about it. And I'm not really sure what he exactly reported him for, but does anybody even know about that case? The defendant's name is Randall Smith. And the victim is Flynn Brown. He was 22 years old, Jackson University student. Randall Smith was 20. I don't know if Coach Prime knew, but there was a picture of him and Coach Prime in the Clarion Ledger, which is, I guess, a local paper. This is being tried in Mississippi. It's in Mississippi. We've been there for Carly Gregg, and Mississippi is wild. Athena Brown is a very devastating case, and I don't know. It's from what I hear, it's the dash cam footage from inside the FedEx vehicle is horrific. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to cover the kid cases, and it's already 3 days into trial, right? Is this day 3 or 4? Yeah, that's Mississippi. Well, let's take a look at our motivational daily calendar of the day. It's been a while. Today's April 9th. And we need a motivational quote for the day. There's also a Karen Reed status conference at 4 p.m. And I don't think I'm allowed to stream it, but if there's mainstream media that's going to stream it, I will. That's at 4 o'clock. All right, here it is. Oh, this is a really good one. April 9th, 2026. This is a quote from Marcus Aurelius. Are you ready? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this. You will find strength. How awesome is that? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this. You will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. There you go. You cannot control other people's behavior. Don't let it control you. That's a good one. Thank you, Marcus Aurelius, for today's quote. And then, of course, we need a daily empowerment card. Let my camera focus. Thank you. And there's only one left in the deck. So unless, oh, here's the deck. Okay, never mind. I lied. Here we go. Let's shuffle them up. When in Rome, when in Rome. All right, here we go. Make them stop and stare. That is your empowerment card of the day, everyone. Make them stop and stare. There you go. Whoever needed to hear that today. Right on. Make them stop and stare. Woo woo. What else has been going on since I've been gone? Yes, I know that. Right. He pled guilty the first day of trial. Correct. I'm aware. Thank you, James. It's in the penalty phase. I do hope Tanner Horner gets the death penalty. Here's the thing. It's in the death penalty phase, but the trial is, they're doing everything that they would have done during the regular trial. But when the judge gives them the verdict sheet, he's going to direct them to find him guilty. So it hasn't changed the proof in any way, is what I understand. And they're trying the case as they would have anyway. They're just going to be, the jury's just going to be directed to find him guilty. And so it's the same proof. They're trying the case as they would have, because they want the jury to see all of the egregious things that this guy did. Right? Right. Oh, you want me to do Justin Alien's response? Maybe later. Maybe later I will. It's like 38 pages long. I have to be in the right frame of mind to be able to focus on it for 30. And it's one side of the story. You know what I'm saying? One side of the story. Right, because it's a capital case. Yes. Yes. All right, let us pivot right now, 12 minutes and 21 seconds, into the Rex Heuermann case, the Long Island serial killer case. Let me tell you a little story. In 1996, I was a young mother of 2 young children here on Long Island when a pair of legs washed up on the beaches of Fire Island, Davis Park, to be exact. A pair of legs. And from that day forward, our amazing beaches on the south shore of Long Island, which are all ocean beaches for the most part, have never been the same. That was 1996. In 2010, the Gilgo 4 bodies were found along the north side of Ocean Parkway in Gilgo Beach. 4 women whose bodies were all intact. 3 of them were wrapped in burlap, and they came to be known as the Gilgo 4. The reason the Gilgo 4 were initially found is because police were looking for a woman by the name of Shannon Gilbert. All of them women, were escorts. Shannon Gilbert was also an escort who called 911 screaming for help. And so when police were out looking for Shannon Gilbert, that is when the Gilgo 4 were discovered. And their bodies were discovered December 11th, 2010 by a police officer named John Malia, who was conducting a training exercise with his canine partner, Blue, along Ocean Parkway in Gilgo Beach, also looking for Shannon Gilbert, and they first discovered the body of Melissa Barthelemy. 2 days later, because of course they increased the search, The bodies of Amber Costello, Maureen Brainard-Barnes, and Megan Waterman were found by the Suffolk County Police Department. Each of the 4 victims were found similarly positioned, bound in a similar fashion by either belts or tape, with 3 of the victims found wrapped in a burlap-type material. All of them had missing clothing and personal possessions. In March of 2011, Jessica Taylor's skull was found along Ocean Parkway. She was also an escort from New York City. And in the 2 weeks following March 11th, 5 more remains were found. There was an unidentified Asian male, a toddler, the body of a woman who initially was referred to as Peaches, and the skull of Jane Doe number 7, who turned out to be, she was also known as Fire Island Jane Doe, Karen Vergata. She was not identified until 2023. After the arrest of Heuermann, she was identified publicly in August of 2023, but she had been initially identified and her identity was kept a secret sometime in 2022. But it was not until July 13th of 2023 that Rex Heuermann was arrested by Suffolk County PD. Part of the way that they identified him and connected him to the victims was because he discarded his pizza crust in a trash can outside of his midtown Manhattan architecture office. He was an architect. And got his DNA off the discarded pizza crust and was able to link him to a male hair found on one of the Gilgo victims' bodies. Since that time, Rex Heuermann has been held in custody, and he was initially charged with the murders of, let me get back to my notes. He was initially charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, who were 3 of the Gilgo 4. They also did extensive forensics on his cell phone, his burner phone, his cellular billing. There had been a description of his green first-generation Chevy Avalanche going all the way back to 2010 that a roommate of Amber Costello told them about, and a male hair found on burlap used to wrap the victims matched the DNA from his discarded pizza crust. Don't ever trust anyone who doesn't eat the crust. It's the best part of the pizza, in my opinion. Just for frame of reference, Maureen Brainard-Barnes was 25 years old. She was from Norwich, Connecticut. She went missing from New York City on July 9th of 2007. Once again, her body was found December 11th or December 13th of 2010. She went missing July 9th of 2007. Melissa Barthelemy went missing on July 10th of 2009, 24 years old. She was from the Bronx. She also went missing from New York City. She too was an escort. And Rex Heuermann made taunting phone calls to Melissa Barthelemy's family members, including her 15-year-old sister, with her phone. And in some of those phone calls, he admitted to killing and essaying her. June 6th of 2010, Megan Waterman, 22 years old, went missing. from the Holiday Inn in Hauppauge on Long Island. She was found naked, wrapped in burlap 4 months later. And a male hair was recovered from the burlap and or the duct tape that matched Rex Heuermann. And on September 2nd of 2010, Amber Costello, 27 years old, went missing from Babylon, Long Island. And her roommate, her male roommate, gave a description. He was the last person to see her alive, gave a description to police of a client that came over who described him as an ogre, 6'4" to 6'6", who drove a green Chevy Avalanche first generation. And what had happened was Amber Costello and her roommate played a trick on Rex Heuermann. And if I recall the story correctly, he came over for a date or a session or whatever to their house in Babylon. West Babylon, sorry, it's different. West Babylon. And the roommate came in pretending to be the boyfriend, chased Heuermann off, and they took his money. So he came back a day or two later, wanting his money back and or the services that were promised to him. And that's the day, September 2nd of 2010, that Heuermann lured Amber Costello out of her house. She was 27 years old, and made her leave her phone inside the house, and she was never seen again. In my opinion, Rex Heuermann should have been caught all the way back after Amber Costello went missing, because they had his description. They had the description of his car. I would submit to you that there are not that many men between 6'4" and 6'6" on Long Island driving a green Chevy Avalanche, because he lived in Massapequa, which is not far from West Babylon, and they could have found him then. However, James Burke and Tom Spoda were into their own nonsense. Tom Spoda was the district attorney of Suffolk County, New York. James Burke was the chief of police. They both wound up in federal prison for other crimes. And so they had their own things going on. Maybe nobody really wanted to look into who was responsible for taking the lives of these 4 women, even though their bodies were found 3 months later. And they had all of the information that they needed, in my opinion, to find this guy, and they didn't, which enabled him to go on and kill more people. Probably. So 3 months later, after the Gilgo 4 were found in December of 2010, on March 29th of 2011, Jessica Taylor's skull was found. She was 20. She was also an escort. I mean, obviously, he picked these women because he didn't think that anybody would either know they were missing or be looking for them. Easy targets for a serial killer like Heuermann. There's a monster. And the reason that they were looking in this area of Gilgo Beach is because Shannon Gilbert, who was also a New York City escort, called 911 in a panic. If you've heard these 911 calls, they are terrifying. Shannon Gilbert, 24 years old, went missing on May 1st of 2010 after meeting with a client named Joseph Brewer at his home in Oak Beach Association, which is very close to Gilgo Beach, along the same stretch of Ocean Parkway. Her driver's name was Michael Pack. This is all coming back to me now, P-A-K. And then 2 days later, Shannon Gilbert's mother received a call from a guy named Dr. Peter Hackett asking if Shannon is there, and tells her he runs a wayward house for wayward girls, and he gave her something to calm her down. It was a crazy story. And because the police went out looking for Shannon Gilbert, that is when they stumbled upon the bodies of the Gilgo 4. Shannon Gilbert's body was not found until a year later in December of 2011. And she was found at Oak Beach. Remind me, chat. She was naked and her purse was there, but it was found like some distance away from her body. And to this day, Shannon Gilbert's death has been ruled an accidental drowning, even though an independent autopsy indicated that she had a fractured hyoid bone and that she may have also been strangled. And we're going to see that Rex Heuermann allocated to strangling all of these women. And it's been my theory since the beginning that perhaps it was my opinion that the reason that Heuermann laid these bodies out, the Gilgo 4, along Ocean Parkway, is so that he could drive by and visit them. And you can't convince me otherwise. And perhaps, just maybe, he went there to visit them and came upon Shannon Gilbert running down Ocean Parkway. And if you've ever driven Ocean Parkway at night, there's no streetlights. It is dark. It is desolate. Because the people that live there don't want the light pollution. It's beautiful. And just maybe he might have. There's a civil case that is pending against Peter Hackett. Has been going on for something like 15 years. And Johnny Ray is the attorney. He just also filed a lawsuit on behalf of I don't even know who the plaintiff is. Hold on. We're going to look at some of the footage. But against Heuermann, his wife, and his daughter. Was it for Karen Vergata? I think it's for Karen Vergata. And so eventually, Rex Heuermann is charged with the murders of 7 women. So initially, he was charged with the first Gilgo 3. In January 2024, a superseding indictment was filed, adding the murder of Maureen Brainard-Barnes. They had to wait for some additional DNA results to charge him with Maureen Brainard-Barnes. Then in December of 2024, the indictment was superseded again, and Rex Heuermann was charged for a 5th victim, Valerie Mack. Valerie Mack had disappeared in 2000. Her remains were found in 2000 and 2011. Let's go to my notes on Valerie Mack for a second. Valerie Mack went missing in September of 2000. No, she was found in September of 2000. She went missing. Valerie Mack was 24 years old, also known as Jane Doe number 6. She was an escort from Philly. She was never reported missing, but she was last seen in the spring or summer of 2000. Her partial remains were found September of 2000 in Manorville, near Jessica Taylor. She grew up in Egg Harbor, New Jersey, and she was last seen in Atlantic County, New Jersey, in Port Republic. And some additional remains of Valerie Mack were found in 2000. So initially, in the earliest cases, Rex Heuermann was dismembering his victims, and then he stopped dismembering and his victims remained intact. Oh, sorry. After January 2024, in June 2024, he was indicted for Jessica Taylor and Sandra Costilla. Sandra Costilla went missing in 1993. So right now, that is the earliest murder with which he's charged and pled guilty to. Sandra Costilla went missing in 1993. She was discovered November 21, 1993, 28 years old. She's the only victim of Heuermann's that didn't have any arrests for sex work. She was found partially clothed in Southampton, New York, discovered by 2 hunters. She was 28 years old. So he was indicted for Jessica Taylor and Sandra Costilla in June of 2024. And then December of 2024, he was charged with Valerie Mack. Jessica Taylor, I think we talked about Jessica Taylor already. And so his trial was upcoming. And yesterday, all of a sudden, he pled guilty to all 7 of the murders with which he was charged, in addition to the murder of Karen Vergata, which he had not been charged with, but a witness had contacted John Ray. And if you remember, I think I have 20 shows on this so far. A witness had contacted attorney John Ray and said that she went with her boyfriend to Rex Heuermann's house Valentine's Day of 1996 with Karen Vergata. And nobody believed it. Everyone thought John Ray was nuts. But I want to look at that press conference again, too. And so he pled guilty to that murder as well, even though he had never been charged with it. Let's take a look, because New York doesn't allow cameras, but they did allow cameras in for just, I think I just froze, for just the very beginning of what happened in court yesterday. So let's take a look. This is Suffolk Supreme Criminal Court. In New York, the Supreme Court is our lowest level of court. So don't be confused. This is Judge Peter Mazzei, Mazzei, and he allowed cameras in just for the very beginning of the hearing. Put the captions on. Let me know that you can hear it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, the court is in receipt of numerous applications from media and press agencies seeking permission to video record and photograph today's proceedings. The court is mindful of the significant public interest in this matter and the important role of the press in ensuring transparency and public access to judicial process. At the same time, the court must ensure full compliance with New York law governing media coverage of court proceedings, and the court is duty-bound to safeguard the integrity of these proceedings. The court has been made aware that the defendant may enter a guilty plea here today, which was probably the worst kept secret in this building in the last couple of days.
The worst kept secret in the building these last couple of days. Yeah, we weren't sure if it was going to happen, if it was just rumor, if it was just speculation, but it happened. Did I say Peter Mazzei, or did I not say the first name? It's Timothy Mazzei. Thank you, Mess Dad. Judge cracking a little joke. The courtroom was so packed with family that they had to open 2 overflow courtrooms for media and other viewers that wanted to come in. People were lined up something like, like overnight, and it was cold.
Under applicable law and rules, audiovisual coverage, including video recording and still photography, is prohibited during portions of the proceeding in which a sworn testimony is taken. Relevant to here, a defendant's plea allocution constitutes testimonial evidence as it involves sworn statements made by a defendant admitting to the facts underlying the charges. Accordingly, the court will permit limited media access as follows: 1 pool video camera news from News 12, 1 pool still photographer from Newsday will be allowed to record and photograph the proceedings up to, but not including, the commencement of the defendant's plea allocution.
And good on the judge for letting News 12 be the pool video and Newsday being the pool still photographer, because both are local Long Island stations. The News 12 is our local news station, and Newsday is the local paper.
At the point where the defendant is sworn and begins allocuting the charges, all audiovisual coverage must cease, and the court will direct the court officers to escort the 2 camera persons out of the well. The court has conferenced this matter with counsels to both parties and with representatives of the 2 press agencies as to the limited scope of coverage of this proceeding. Both counsels, is this your understanding, first of all? Yes?
It is. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and do you have any objections to what I've just said?
We don't take a position. We don't take a position either, Your Honor. Thank you.
Both camera persons, Mr. Ryan and Mr. Carbone, have been expressly advised that they are under order of the court to immediately disseminate the videos and photographs that are obtained herein to any and all members of accredited media agencies upon their request. Like any other case, no one else here or in the overflow courtroom is permitted to film, tape, audio record, photograph, or otherwise record today's proceedings. This determination reflects the court's effort to balance the public's right of access with the legal requirement prohibiting coverage of testimonial proceedings, as well as the need to preserve the fairness, dignity, and orderly administration of justice. All right, gentlemen, I understand that circumstances have changed in this case.
That's correct, Your Honor.
People,
Your Honor, it is the understanding of the District Attorney's Office that the defendant
Okay, that is Ray Tierney. He is the District Attorney of Suffolk County, Long Island. And this is to the right in the gray suit, Michael Brown. He's the defense attorney for Rex Heuermann.
will plead guilty. People. Your Honor, it is the understanding of the District Attorney's Office that the defendant will plead guilty to 7 counts in the indictment, specifically counts 1 through 3 and counts 7 through 10. Counts 4.
I don't think so. Should we bring the defendant on, please?
Bring the defendant out now.
Like, yeah, you think we should bring the defendant in? The defendant's not even in the courtroom, but watch for him when he does come in. He's missing a bunch of teeth, and his haircut alone is a crime. Okay, he's worse than the Norfolk County pokey barber, whoever's cutting hair out in Suffolk County. So watch for that when he comes in.
Thank you.
Usually helps to have the defendant.
Usually helps to have the defendant.
Judge, you want to look up first? Just do the paperwork.
Judge, you want to look at the paperwork first?
Let me know when you're ready.
When you need them cup, just let me know.
Sorry?
When you need them cup, just let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, watch for his smirking too.
Coming out, Judge.
Here he comes. Looks like he got his
On the
haircut.
record with number
with a
8, Rex
hammer.
Heuermann.
We're going to do the waivers first, okay? For the defendant, Michael Brown, 320 Polk Avenue, Central State, New York. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Mr. Brown. As I was beginning to say, it is the understanding of the District Attorney's Office that the defendant will plead guilty to 7 counts in the indictment, specifically counts 1 through 3 and counts 7 through 10. Counts 4 through 6 will be dismissed in satisfaction of at the time of the defendant's sentencing. In addition to allocuting to and admitting his factual guilt to all elements of counts 1 through 3 and 7 through 10 of the indictment, the defendant further agrees that although he has not been charged with this crime, he will admit as part of his plea that he intentionally caused the death of Karen Brigada and transported and left her remains in Suffolk County in 1996. The District Attorney's Office agrees that in exchange for the defendant pleading guilty to counts 1 through 3 and counts 7 through 10 of the indictment and admitting to the uncharged murder of Karen Brigada, the District Attorney's Office recommends the following sentence. Counts 1 through 3, murder in the first degree.
So this is technically a plea deal because they are agreeing to give him something in exchange for his guilty plea. So listen up. Don't pay attention to the closed captions because they're completely wrong. Karen, it says Karen BGATA and it said Suffolk County. I don't even know what the wacky spelling of that was. SUFFACH or something. All right, here we go.
Indictment and admit pleading guilty 96. The District Attorney's Office agrees that in exchange for the defendant pleading guilty to counts 1 through 3 and counts 7 through 10 of the indictment and admitting to the uncharged murder of Karen Brigada, the District Attorney's Office recommends the following sentence. Counts 1 through 3, murder in the first degree. The maximum sentence of life imprisonment without parole to run consecutive to each other. Counts 7 through 10, the maximum sentence of 25 years to life imprisonment to run consecutive to one another and with the sentences on counts 1 through 3. To summarize the foregoing sentence, the defendant agrees to serve 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole regarding counts 1 through 3, followed by 4 consecutive sentences of 25 years imprisonment to life to run consecutive to one another. Should the defendant allocute to the murder of Karen Brigada, the defendant's guilty plea and this plea agreement will satisfy and cover the uncharged homicide of Karen Brigada. In exchange for all of the above pleas, there will be no further prosecutions pertaining to the murders of the aforementioned 8 victims: Karen Brigada, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Maureen Brainard-Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. The defendant will acknowledge both orally and in writing that he has received voluminous and sufficient discovery to make an informed decision regarding his plea here today. The defendant will further waive any objections to the district attorney's compliance with Article 245 of the Criminal Procedure Law. The defendant has also agreed to withdraw all motions currently pending before this court. As set forth in the written waiver of right to appeal, the defendant agrees to waive his right to appeal, which includes the court's prior hearing determination, as well as any claim that the sentence imposed by this court is excessive. The defendant further acknowledges that he has been fully apprised by his attorneys of the rights and privileges that he is waiving, and that his waiver is being agreed to knowingly and voluntarily and made for the purpose of receiving the benefit of not being charged with the murder of Karen Vergata or any other charges related to the deaths of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, and Sandra Castillo. Finally, counts 4, 5.
Okay. Also note that does not mean that he cannot be prosecuted for any other victims that they find out that he's connected to. So it's just the named victims plus Karen Vergata.
And 6 will be dismissed in satisfaction at the time of sentencing. And I believed in the beginning, with regard to the 8 victims, I inadvertently left out Sandra Castillo.
Mr. Brown?
Judge, can he be uncuffed for a moment just to sign certain documents?
Sarge?
Yes,
Thank
Judge.
They got to uncuff him so he can sign. He can sign the plea. Right. That's all the ones that we know about. There's
Sign right here,
going to be more.
please.
I'm convinced.
This is the.
I mean, you tell me what you think. Do you think he just woke up at 29 years old and decided to become a serial killer? Or do you think he was killing since he was maybe 18, 19, 20? Because the first victim, Sandra Costilla, went missing in 1993.
Thank you. Okay. Good. That's it. Thank you. Judge, that's our understanding. We'll join the application.
Thank you. Mr. Heuermann, before I swear you in, and the elocution is taken, I have some questions to ask of you. They're obvious and simple questions, but I have to ask them, okay?
Okay, so if your mind has wandered, come back to your screen because this is the only time you're going to hear Rex Heuermann speak today. Here we go.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
62.
You read and write English?
Yes.
Have you discussed this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
Have you had enough time to discuss this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
After discussions with your lawyer, you feel it's in your best interest to plead guilty rather than go to trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the manner in which your attorneys represented you in this case?
Yes, I am.
I must say that the attorneys on both sides of this case have been excellent, unbelievable lawyers. Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a charge, that is the same as if you had gone to trial and been found guilty of that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving a number of very important rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now these rights include your right to a trial by jury and by the court, your right to have the prosecution produce evidence and witnesses to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, your right to cross-examine those witnesses, and your right to testify on your own behalf or to remain silent, your right to call witnesses or submit evidence on your behalf. Do you understand those rights as I just explained them?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up those rights?
Yes, I do.
All right, now a defendant ordinarily retains the right to appeal even after pleading guilty. In this case, however, as a condition of the plea agreement, you are asked to waive your right to appeal. An appeal is a proceeding before another court, and if a defendant cannot afford the cost of an appeal or of a lawyer, the state will bear those costs. On an appeal, the defendant may, normally through his or her lawyer, argue that an error took place in this court, which required a modification or a reversal of the conviction. A reversal would require either new proceedings in this court or dismissal. By waiving your right to appeal, you do not give up your right to take an appeal. But if you take an appeal, you are by this plea, and now separately by this waiver of the right to appeal, giving up the right to have the appellate court consider most claims of error, including, for example, rulings on evidence, discovery, suppression, and any pretrial motions, and whether this sentence is harsh or excessive and should be modified. You understand that?
Yes, I
And
do.
your attorney's explained this to you?
Yes, he
And
has.
Mr. Brown, I ask you at this point, are you, with respect to the motion pending,
We're going to withdraw that motion.
application granted?
Thank you.
Are you willing to waive your right to appeal in this case in return for the plea and sentence agreement?
Yes.
Do you waive your right to appeal voluntarily of your own free will?
Yes, I do.
Are you entering this plea bargain voluntarily of your own free will?
Yes, I am.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or coerced you into pleading guilty?
No.
Are you under the influence of any drugs, medication, or alcohol right now?
No.
Are you under the influence of any substance which has impaired your ability to think clearly or understand what's going on here today?
No.
You understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving any defense you may have in this case?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God, the smirking.
Now, do you understand?
The smirking, the missing teeth, the haircut is a crime, all of it. All of it. The only time that I went to court on this case, I was sitting in the gallery and I remember telling you that he turned around and he looked straight at me. And the evil that just emanates from this man. It was like the energy, everything changed. You could just feel the evil from him. It was chilling. It was chilling.
Again, an obvious question, but I have to ask it. Do you understand that as a result of this plea and sentence, you will be convicted of a felony and that such conviction will result in an enhanced sentence if you are convicted of a felony in the future? Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
All right. Mr. Brown, again, another silly question, but have you received a sufficient amount of discovery in this matter?
We certainly have to.
People, have you provided that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, my promise is to sentence you in a manner that is conditional. At the time of your sentencing, I will be provided with a pre-sentence report and perhaps additional information about you and your alleged involvement in this matter. If after reviewing all the relevant information, I learn something which tells me that I cannot in good conscience keep my promise, I shall permit you to withdraw your plea of guilty, reinstate your plea of not guilty, and the case will proceed to trial. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Additionally, my promise is also conditional on the following things. You must cooperate with the probation department. You must not be arrested for any offense in this or any other jurisdiction. Finally, you must appear on the date I set for sentencing or any adjourned date. If you fail to abide by any of these conditions, I will not be bound by my sentencing promise to you, and you will not be permitted to withdraw your guilty plea. Further, I'll be at liberty to sentence you to any appropriate sentence, including the maximum sentence allowed by law. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Now, other than the promise that was placed on the record by the people, has anyone, myself, your lawyer, the prosecutor, or anyone else made any promises to you in return for your plea of guilty?
The only thing I want to interject, Judge, Mr. Tierney has indicated in exchange for the pleas that we're going to enter into this morning, there'll be no further prosecutions on the 8 victims that he's referenced. He is also, my client is also obligated to completely, truthfully, and fairly cooperate with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit as part of what we've just discussed.
Any other promises made?
Wow. How many people watch Criminal Minds? Criminal Minds, that's the BAU. That's the FBI BAU, the Behavioral Analysis Unit. He's going to agree that they can study him, and he's going to agree to cooperate with them. And maybe he's going to help them catch other serial killers. So that's part of the plea agreement. Listen to that again. And again, look at the smirk on his face. He's like, yeah, I'm going to tell him everything I know. I'm going to share all my secrets. Yeah. Garcia. Oh my gosh, Garcia. I love Penelope Garcia. Penelope Garcia, Team Brittany, you know. I've watched every single episode of Criminal Minds, all seasons, including the new seasons. Let's hear that again. It's going to become a test case.
The only thing I want to interject, Judge, Mr. Tierney has indicated in exchange for the pleas that we're going to enter into this morning, there'll be no further prosecutions on the 8 victims that he's referenced. He is also, my client is also obligated to completely, truthfully, and fairly cooperate with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit as part of what we've just discussed,
Any other promises made to you?
other than what I just said.
No.
Are you pleading guilty voluntarily and of your own free will?
Yes.
All right, we're going to swear in the defendant now. Remove.
As a yes? Okay.
Okay, and that's it. They shut the cameras off. So I'm going to tell you what he allocated to. Criminal Minds is my comfort show, says Carrie P. Not sure what that says about me, she says. Jackie says, so he totally 1,000% did this. That's wild. And now he has to work with BAU to learn about profiling serial killers. That's wild. Yep. Well, he said he's admitting to 8. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of unidentified bodies and a lot of missing girls on Long Island. I have the playlist linked below, my playlist. I think there's over 20 videos where in some of the videos, I went over all kinds of cold cases from the 80s of girls that are still missing. and or have the bodies have been found that have never been solved, that are cold, and there could be more. And once he's a convicted felon in New York, his DNA goes into CODIS, and who knows what else he could be charged with in other states. We have I did a whole entire show on the Eastbound Strangler and whether or not I thought and we thought that he may have been connected to the Eastbound Strangler cases, which were from 2006. 4 victims were found in a drainage ditch in Atlantic City, behind the Golden Key Motel in Egg Harbor Township in November of 2006. Very similarly posed. They all too were sex workers. And John Kelly, who's a famous profiler, did a profile. I have a whole show on that. We went over the profile. It seemed to me those may be attributed to him. Maybe. There's also the some other cases in and around. There were some in and around Massachusetts, I think. There was some other highway cases that may be connected to him. He used to go between Las Vegas and South Carolina because that's where his brother Craig lives, right? His brother's name is Craig, and he had given his brother his green Chevy Avalanche, like it was still in the family. Like, to think that they still owned that green Chevy Avalanche that he was seen with all the way back in 2010 is wild. And for those of you who have not watched The Hunting Party, highly recommend, because The Hunting Party is about a similar type of situation where serial killers who received the death penalty really didn't, and they were put into a secret prison run by the federal government where they did crazy experiments on them and tried to learn more about their behavior and what causes it and how to fix it. And then there's an explosion in this secret prison, and many of them escape. And then each episode is about them trying to catch a serial killer. So if you haven't watched The Hunting Party, check it out. For those of you who have watched it, let me know. I'm addicted. Season 1 you can find on Netflix, and season 2 is on Peacock, and it's an NBC. It's a weekly show on NBC, like a real mainstream media type network. Procedural. And so after the cameras were shut off, he allocated to the following. And this is from the Riverhead News Review, which is the local paper. He admitted to the court that he strangled Melissa Barthelemy in July of 2009, that he strangled Megan Waterman in June of 2010, and that he strangled Amber Costello in September of 2010, luring them with promises of money and leaving their bodies near Gilgo Beach. He acknowledged wrapping some of the victims in burlap before disposing of their remains. And he said the killings occurred within a roughly 24-month span. We do know that Heuermann was married at the time of his killing spree. In fact, let me go back to my notes. He married Asa Ellerup. Oh, the other cases that I was thinking of were the 1988 and 89 New Bedford highway killings. In any event, he acknowledged that he was married at the time. I think he married her. I don't know why. I'm thinking 93. It says he was married at the time of the killing spree. He further admitted to killing Maureen Brainard-Barnes in 2007, Jessica Taylor in 2003, and Valerie Mack in 2000, and Sandra Costilla in 1993, telling the court that he strangled all of them as well. All right, so just to tie this together in a bow, no killings between 93 and 2000. Do you believe that? Except Karen Vergata, which was 1996. Okay, so Sandra Costia, 93, Karen Vergata, 96, then Valerie Mack, 2000, Jessica Taylor, 2003. I mean, do you think he had extended breaks during this time, or do you think there may be more victims? He was married twice. You're correct. I'm surprised nobody's found his first wife. He admitted to, it says here, in several cases, including Ms. Taylor and Ms. Mack, he confessed to dismembering their bodies and scattering the remains between Manorville and Gilgo Beach. As you know, since we've been covering this case since his arrest, prosecutors had turned over, the DA had turned over something like more than 120 terabytes of data in discovery, and 715,000 pages in discovery, including DNA evidence, cell phone data, and digital records linking him to multiple victims, including his manifesto, which I did a whole entire show on, which was chilling. Hold, please. And ever since Rex Heuermann was arrested, he has maintained his innocence fiercely. We're also going to take a look at Michael Brown's comments after court, the press conference. Some of the victims spoke out, and Asa Ellerup, Asa Ellerup's, his wife's attorney, also spoke. Let me just see if the Washington Post had any more details about his allocution, because that part wasn't recorded. And I have to say, this is anticlimactic for me. Is it anticlimactic for you? I mean, I'm happy that the families don't have to go through it, but I really wanted to know some more about what they found. He admitted that he killed Sandra Costia in November of 1993. That was the earliest of the victims that he pled guilty to. He said he picked her up in his vehicle and then strangled her before leaving her body in Southampton. Sandra Costia was 28 years old. He also confessed to killing Karen Vergata, 34 years old. He says he strangled Karen Vergata in 1996, and then he dismembered her body and then transported her body to various locations. As I advised you earlier in the stream, her legs were discovered in 1996. They washed up on the beach, Davis Park, Fire Island, Long Island, and her skull was found 15 years later near Gilgo Beach, and she was not identified until 2022, but publicly in 2023 after they used genetic genealogy, I believe. Heuermann also said during his allocution that in the fall of 2000, he drove to pick up Valerie Mack, who was 24. He strangled her and then dumped her remains at 2 different locations, including Gilgo Beach. So she too was dismembered. Some of her remains were discovered in November of 2000, but others were not discovered by hunters in November 2000. That was in Southampton. But others were not discovered until 2011 near Gilgo Beach. Valerie Mack was positively identified in 2020. So it took 10 years from her disappearance for her to even be positively identified. In July of 2023, Heuermann allocated that he also strangled and dismembered Jessica Taylor, age 20. He scattered her remains also in 2 locations. Some of her remains were discovered a few days later, but others were not found until 2011. They don't give a lot of details. Let me go back to my notes, which, right. Initially, her remains were found in the woods in Manorville, and I believe that was her torso in 2003. And then some of her other remains were found near Gilgo Beach in 2011 when they were looking again for Shannon Gilbert still. Heuermann admitted during his allocution to killing his next victim in July of 2007 after seeing an online advertisement from Maureen Brainard-Barnes, who was 25. I think he used some back pages on Craigslist, but it doesn't specify here. After he arranged a meeting with her, he says he strangled her and then he wrapped her body in 3 belts. And her remains were discovered again in December 2010 near Gilgo Beach. She's part of the Gilgo 4, Maureen Brainard-Barnes. He then admitted that he killed Megan Barthelemy, age 24, in 2009. She too was a sex worker, according to the Washington Post, and we knew that already. He then wrapped her body in burlap and tape and left it near Gilgo Beach. I remember also that this was it was a burlap that is commonly used by duck hunters on Long Island, like a camouflage type burlap. And I believe that was the belt that had the initials on it. What were the initials? WH, or it could have been MH, and they surmised that it was his father's belt. And then they eventually released pictures of the belt. But that was Maureen Brainard-Barnes. 3 belts, it says that she was wrapped in. He then admitted that he also used burlap and tape to transport the body of Megan Waterman, 22 years old, whom he killed during the summer of 2010 after the two met at a Holiday Inn. As I said earlier, that was in Hop Hog on Long Island. Waterman's body was discovered 6 months later in Gilgo Beach. That was December 2010. HM, right? But if you turned it upside down, it could have been WH, right, Zimmy? Because you could turn it upside down, I remember. Heuermann killed his final known victim in September of 2010. He had driven to pick up Amber Costello at her home and then strangled her, the district attorney's office said. He then disposed of her remains near Gilgo Beach. And as I said to you, her roommate, who gave extensive statements the day after or the day that she went missing, gave a full description of Rex Heuermann and his first-generation green Chevy Avalanche. And that is what we know of his allocution, but I believe there are going to be many more.
All right.
She was willing to sign.
Hang on 1 second. Now, let's take a look at, the family, Rex Heuermann's family gave a statement after they came out of court. Let's pivot to that. That one's only about 4 minutes long. Let's go to the chat for a minute. Thank you, Jeff Litweiler, for your 5. So glad you're covering this one. Good to catch you live. Thanks for being here. And Gigi's here, and she's engraving all the silver bracelets, and she gifted 5 memberships because she's amazing. Thanks, Gigi. Gigi said, if I can go to Hawaii and come back looking like you, I need to book a ticket. Oh, that's very sweet. Thanks, Gigi, for your 5 and for gifting 5 memberships. You're amazing and generous. Thank you so much. Andrea says, oh my gosh, hi, you were missed. Thank you so much for your 5. I appreciate you so much. Jeff said, we have large fire ant hills here and holes full of rattlesnakes. Can I interest your county on a location? What are you talking about? Where? I don't know where you are. Thanks for your 5. I don't know what you're talking about. And BB says, Brian Enton reported as part of the plea, he must work with the FBI BAU. Yes, that is true. We just heard them say that. Thanks, BB. And BB for being here for 30 months. You were my first member ever. True Crime Justice says, I'm wondering what he did from 2011 to 2023. Right. Thanks for being here for 17 months. Jackie Benigno's a new member. Oh, her sister is Sam Benigno. Thanks, Jackie, for becoming a member. Mrs. Bouquet says, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? Thanks for being here for 23 months. Hello to your son, Harrison, if he's watching today. Marcy's Lies said he's not missing any meals. Well, remember what Jennifer Coffindaffer said about Sarah Grace Patrick, that she's going to beef up and get really fat in jail because there's so many carbs in the jailhouse diet? Yeah, I remember that too. Thanks, Marcy's Lies, for being here for 19 months. And BB, thanks for your 20. Says, a narcissist's ego is his drug of choice. Love Criminal Minds too. I wonder if Koberger is also working with the BAU. Now, that wasn't part of Koberger's plea deal. In fact, that was part of Brian Enton's tweet, I believe, is that he was mad that Brian Koberger didn't have to do that as part of his plea deal. And so from what I understand, no, Brian Koberger didn't have any requirement to work with the BAU. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm back too. Thank you so very much, Aunt BB, for your 20. I love you so much. Not a House defendant says, it's always amazing that serial killers think that because they are sex workers, no one will miss them. Yes. Yes. And also, you know what used to happen in the 80s? A lot of law enforcement would just brush it off. And a girl went missing, they would say, oh, she's a runaway. She's a runaway. And so they wouldn't really even look. One of the cold cases that we talked about was Teresa Fusco. And recently someone was arrested for the murder of Teresa Fusco. I think a couple of guys spent a lot of time in jail and then sued the county. They were wrongfully persecuted. They spent a lot of time in jail for the murder of Teresa Fusco. Now they got a new defendant. Not a House defendant says, yacht today, Satan. Yacht today. Thanks for being here for 17 months. Georgia Cat Mom says, we all need a day on the yacht after this. We do. Yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, Sherilyn is so happy that I'm back in her time zone. It was fun, though. We had a slumber party when I was in Hawaii. I did I don't know, I think it was like 10 p.m. Hawaii. Was it? Or 8 p.m.? So it was 2 a.m. on the East Coast, and we had a little slumber party. And so many of you were awake. There were like 2,000 people watching. Thank you, Sherilyn. Cosgrove's Velcro Sneakers is glad I'm back on East Coast time. Thank you for being here for 13 months. Teresa said, I didn't know that. Says, thanks for all you do. Love from hello to Ireland. We are worldwide. This is a worldwide audience here. Thanks for being here for 13 months. Priscilla says, almost a year of membership. I've been watching longer. Oh, when you get to 12 months, you get a red velvet cupcake next to your name. So get excited for that one. Casey Paralegal has been here for 12 months. So you got your red velvet cupcake. Kind of happy anniversary to us. And Sabrina says, when they finally run his DNA through CODIS, they will find several more victims. Agreed. But here's the thing. And we're going to hear Ray Tierney say this because the reporter says that. Oh, so now because in New York, you have to be a convicted felon for your, every state is different, but in New York, you have to be convicted for your DNA to go into CODIS. But Ray Tierney says, we've been sharing all along. If anybody wanted anything, we've been giving it to them. You know? All right. Who's this asshole? Hold on. Wait a second. Can you explain why your ex-husband told me you believe Karen Read is guilty? Who are you? And it's hilarious. That's hilarious. Was he speaking from the grave? Did he speak to you from the grave? Hold on. I got to see who this person is and how long they've been on YouTube. Let's see. Hold on one second. Let's see. Oh, that person joined YouTube 6 days ago. Congratulations. Congratulations on your very new YouTube experience. The trolls are out. And you waited 48 hours to come in here and talk trash about my dead ex-husband. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Well done. Let's see. They joined April 2nd of 2026. Well done. Which troll do you think, which known troll do you think that is? Anyone? Ray Tierney said they've been helping other states all along. So I don't know how true that is. And I don't know why he's kind of like poo-pooing it, but we're going to hear him say that. I think in song lyrics says, I think he's excited about the BAU. He can frame himself as the new Hannibal, in my opinion. Definitely more victims. The arrest came because he got a burner phone. Well, it came because the Gilgo Beach task force was enacted and because there was a female state trooper who finally found the tip about the green Chevy Avalanche in the file and was able to track him down. In my opinion, that's what happened. And then they got on, were surveilling him. They got the pizza crust out of the garbage, and it was all due to a New York State trooper, a female, who finally dug into the file from 2010, took out that old tip. And in my opinion, they should have caught him in 2010. And still, here we are. Thanks for your 5, I think, in song lyrics. I do too. Kimberly says, can he still be charged in other states? Oh, sure. Okay, so the only things he cannot be prosecuted for are the 8 victims that he pled guilty to. Any other cases that come up that may be related to him, he can absolutely be charged and prosecuted in New York and other states. Thank you, Kimberly. That's a great question. Happy second anniversary to us, as does Cupcake. And Jeff says to put him in. That might be your answer. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, you have some handles you want to put him in. Okay, good. All right, here we go. Let us look at the comments from Rex's family outside of Suffolk Criminal Court yesterday after court. Here we go. This is his daughter, Victoria, on the left in the gray sweatshirt with the scarf around her neck. That is the family attorney, Robert Macedonio, who's mostly a divorce attorney, and Heuermann's wife, Asa Ullerup, with the reddish hair and long black coat to the right of your screen. So many people came to court, they had to open up 2 overflow courtrooms.
Thank you, everybody. It's been an extremely emotional day for all involved, and I know everybody's been here since early in the morning. I would just like to read a statement on behalf of the family, then I'll take a few questions, and then when I'm through, Asa will read a statement on behalf of herself and her family. Today is an extremely difficult day for everyone involved. I'd like to commend Ray Tierney and the task force for the amazing job they did in solving these crimes. It's been traumatizing Long Island for well over 3 decades. First and foremost, our hearts are with the victims and their families. They have suffered unimaginable loss, and nothing said here today can lessen that pain. Let me be absolutely clear. We just heard in the courtroom, Rex Heuermann and Rex Heuermann alone is responsible for these horrific crimes. Any suggestion that Asa Ullerup or Victoria Heuermann were involved is irresponsible. They have no...
We're going to see that the day before this guilty plea, a lawsuit was filed against Rex Heuermann, his wife, and his daughter for the murder of Karen Vergata. And I want to point out something else interesting to you about what he allocated to and what we learned from John Ray back in at least a year ago. So just put a pin in that for now. That's why he's addressing this, because a lawsuit was filed the day before.
Knowledge, no involvement, or any connection to these heinous acts. The evidence that's been put out in the courtroom simply does not support any other fact pattern. Mrs. Ullerup and Victoria accept today's outcome without question. She and her family have cooperated fully since day one with law enforcement and will continue to respect this legal process as it comes to a conclusion. This situation is deeply personal and profoundly painful for Miss Ullerup and her family. She never wanted to believe the man she was married to for 27 years, the father of Victoria, would be capable of committing such heinous acts. Like so many others, she is still trying to process what was just revealed inside that courtroom, and she has to remain strong for her family. On behalf of her family, she's asking for privacy, compassion, and understanding as she now navigates these circumstances which nobody could have anticipated a little more than 3 years ago. Today is not about Asa. It's not about Victoria. It is about the victims and their families, what we just stated, have suffered unimaginable losses.
Noticeably absent, at least in this shot, is the stepson, who was Asa's son. They have one child together, and that's Victoria on the left. The wife is on the right. And there's, I think, Peacock is doing a documentary with them, right?
And this family will continue in cooperating with the district attorney's office and law enforcement in the pursuit of justice, wherever it may take us. Any questions?
Can we hear from Asa?
Yeah, no, we shortly will hear from us. Yes.
Can we hear from Asa? Can you guys hear the questions? Sometimes I have to repeat them.
Just want to know, she's not going to answer any questions. She's going to read a statement, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Okay. She's not going to answer questions. She's going to read a statement that she prepared last night. She's not going to ask any questions.
Can you up to the center back where you are?
Okay. Right. Awesome. Just step up. Slow. Okay.
They can't see it.
You said it.
No questions?
No
Okay.
questions.
My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Their
This is interesting because we've never heard her speak before, I don't think. I mean, maybe she said one or two words to a reporter that came knocking on her door, which, I mean, at least nobody's camped outside her door like they are outside Nancy Guthrie's house, but we haven't really heard her speak before, so this is interesting. Here we go.
You said it.
No questions?
No
Okay.
questions.
My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Their loss is immeasurable. And the focus should be on them at this time and to my family as they navigate through this very difficult time.
How did you not see what he was? How did you not see what he had done? You were living with him.
Sir, the district attorney's office has thoroughly investigated.
Did you hear what the reporter said? How did you not know what he was? How did you not know if you were living in the same house?
These crimes, okay? It has been proven.
You were living in the same house with him.
She was away.
What were the
She was
signs?
away each and every occasion. We've answered this 1,000 times, okay? You guys have the bail application. You have the investigation.
Believe that he was
Yeah, that's it. There's no questions, okay? Thank you. There's no questions being asked. None. They're not answering questions.
That's it. They just walked off.
I didn't get there.
She spoke in interviews last year. Their daughter did too. Maybe I forgot about that. Is that possible, Karen? I'm sure that if she did, we played them. Let's go to thoughts and prayers. That was it. Thoughts and prayers.
All right, Chase, you're up.
All right, here is Michael Brown, Rex Heuermann's attorney, speaking after court in the same location. Let's take a look at that. Here we go.
All right, Chase, you're up there? I'm right here. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for coming. As you saw today, Rex entered pleas of guilty to many counts on the indictment. When we first spoke almost or over 2.5 years ago, I stressed the importance of a couple of things: the presumption of innocence, the right to have a jury of your peers decide your fate. And those are absolute rights, but just the same, a defendant also has an absolute right to change his plea, to accept responsibility and enter a plea of guilty. Now, as attorneys, we've counseled him, we advised him, but that decision is ultimately up to the defendant. He controls his case, and that's his prerogative, that's his right, and that's what happened here today. When Rex decided that he wanted to accept responsibility and didn't want to proceed to trial, from a defense standpoint, we then pivoted and did our best to protect his interest. That included the fact that he's going to cooperate with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, and as you heard the district attorney, there will be no further prosecutions in regards to these 8 victims. The district attorney's office of Suffolk County did an excellent job. I'll commend them. They deserve all the accolades. I've been reviewing this case for over 2.5 years. I can't express to you, and I know we've talked about it on many different dates, the volume of
every single time you were like, my client is 100% innocent. My client is 100% innocent of these charges, and he can't wait to have his day in court. He can't wait to have his day in court. And I mean, he's a fierce advocate. he's a public defender for this case because Suffolk County Legal Aid does not have attorneys that are qualified to try murder cases. And so Suffolk County hires private attorneys to act as public defenders in murder cases. He is one of the best in Suffolk County. And one of the reasons I was looking forward to this trial is watching the matchup between Michael Brown, who is a pit bull. He reminds me of Sam Cutler in some ways, against Ray Tierney. I thought that would have been an amazing matchup. We're not going to get to see it though. So let me hear what he said. Was he praising the district attorney? Hold on.
He's going to cooperate with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, and as you heard the district attorney, there will be no further prosecutions in regards to these 8 victims. The district attorney's office of Suffolk County did an excellent job. I'll commend them. They deserve all the accolades. I've been reviewing this case for over 2.5 years. I can't express to you, and I know we've talked about it on many different dates, the volume of evidence and discovery. They did a great job. They really did a great job of gathering the evidence, they went down hundreds of rabbit holes. And when you look at the amount of evidence and you connect the dots, they really did a great job. And I'm talking about the investigators, the detectives, their experts, the assistant district attorneys. So I'm sure that the families of the victims are very grateful to the district attorney, and the people of this county should be as well. This was an unprecedented case. And I can tell you that I am very fortunate to have had a legal team that helped me on this over the course of the last 2.5 years. I don't know where Mr. Capone is, and Mr. Fuchs. They are excellent writers, and we battled this from day one, and we were prepared from day one to try this case. Chase Brown has been an excellent.
They were prepared, but in the end, here we are. Thanks, Karen, for gifting 5 memberships. Karen DePasquale, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, they went down the rabbit holes. I know what that's like. I know exactly what that's like.
Excellent help in terms of everything we've been doing. He is a rising star in this county. And my co-pilot, Danielle Koish, she really, really put together that Fry hearing. That was such a monumental hearing here in New York State. And she's organized and came up with such crafty arguments during the course of this case. So I'm really grateful for their help. We really were, in my opinion, zealous. We did our best to be competent and effective during the course of this prosecution and the defense. One of the things that I was very mindful of and made a deliberate point is we attacked the evidence. We never attacked these young ladies, these victims. That was never our objective. We never said a bad word about them, and they ran into some tough times. They were all beautiful young ladies. Their mothers, their daughters, their sisters, I can go on, but it was never about attacking them. It was always about attacking the evidence. So
yeah, it's kind of slam dunk. Okay, I
think
meant,
that this,
when I said Sam Cutler before, I really meant Bruce Cutler. Bruce Cutler is a famous criminal defense attorney. Sam Cutler was the tour manager for the Grateful Dead and the Rolling Stones. Sorry for confusing you, but I meant Bruce Cutler, the famous criminal defense attorney. I'm like, why did I say Sam Cutler? And then now I know.
Today gave hopefully some peace and some closure to the family members. This case is over from our standpoint. You heard the prosecutor indicate there will be no further prosecutions in exchange for his plea of guilty, as well as his cooperation with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Behavioral Analysis Unit. I respect the press and their role in the criminal justice system, so I'm happy to take some questions to the best that I can at this point.
What changed and when? That's what we're trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
well,
What changed and when? When you're insisting he's innocent, what changed and when?
I can't give you our conversations that are confidential, but I will say to you that there came a point in this defense where Rex said, I want to plead guilty. And it was at that point when we really had an objective of protecting his interests.
Sure. But can you give us some?
I can't.
timeline of
No,
when that was?
no, because that's all confidential. I'm not going to get into the time frame.
Is he cooperating with the FBI?
I'm sorry?
Has he spoken to ASA?
Has he spoken to Asa? I don't know. You'd have to ask Asa.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about the parameters of the FBI cooperation? Because we couldn't really hear you on the mic well when you mentioned that in court. And what does that mean for a potential federal prosecution of Rex, if at all?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to discuss any of that. All I can say is he has an obligation to cooperate fully and completely with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit. I can't get into anything further. Anybody?
Already begun?
Yes, sir.
This plea comes sometime after the judge ruled on DNA. Was that part of the calculation that there was just another obstacle in the way to try to prove his innocence versus pleading guilty?
Well, we don't have to prove innocence, obviously.
Well,
It's about, but I understand your question. Yeah, I mean, listen, there are a couple of things that were major decisions in this case from a strategic standpoint for the defense, in terms of likelihood of success at trial, so to speak. The judge's ruling on the Fry hearing was monumental. Yes, that's a big deal because if you remember, you have mitochondrial DNA and the statistical likelihood is not that great. I feel like I'm a broken record, but that was 2.5 years ago. We talked about that. But once that nuclear DNA comes into play, those statistics, as portrayed by this expert, the Estria lab, they're off the charts. So that's a major part of how successful you're going to be at trial. Another major part is our motion to sever, which Ms. Koish wrote a great motion on that because we didn't think, we suggested that the cumulative effect would have been so overwhelming, and the court disagreed with us, and the court permitted all of the counts in the indictment to remain together. That's a big win for the prosecution.
Right. They wanted separate trials. They wanted separate trials for the murders, and it was denied. And so they would have had to have tried all of the murders together.
Prosecution.
Mr. Brown, you
Yes.
yourself told us many times that you believed he was not the guy. When did your thoughts on that change?
Well, my thoughts aren't important. At some point, he admitted responsibility to us and indicated that he wanted to proceed to trial. So I don't sit there and judge a case. Our objective and our job is to be zealous advocates for the client, right? That's what we do. We do it on every single case. A good lawyer is going to advocate for their client. That's what we've been doing from day one. My beliefs, and it's insignificant.
Mr. Brown,
Yes, sir.
Going back to the Fry hearing, going back to the Fry hearing for a moment, and we talked about this in a separate show, but the prosecution intended to use at trial for the first time ever in a New York courtroom, they wanted to use cutting edge whole genome sequencing, DNA analysis, and single SNP, SNP testing, which are methods that were never ever used in a New York courtroom before. The defense challenged their admissibility and the court allowed it. Judge Mazie allowed it. And so that is now going to become the standard in New York. That ruling is going to stand despite the fact that Heuermann has pled guilty to these crimes, which is very interesting.
These kinds of hearings are so clinical. Can you give us an understanding of his mindset coming in and whether he...
Can you hear that? He said these hearings are typically so clinical. Can you give us a set of his mindset coming in?
Without betraying confidences.
Without betraying any confidences?
That indicated a particular way he was thinking or feeling about this?
You're talking about this morning?
Yeah.
Well, this is not something that nothing has been done from the hip. We don't shoot from the hip on this case. This case, every single decision we've made has been calculated and thought out, and we've thrown it around hundreds of times. And the reason I say that is, we've been speaking to him and preparing him for today. And that's been ongoing for weeks.
Is he sorry?
I would hope
sorry?
So. I mean, I expect at sentencing, he'll have something to say. I'll leave it at that.
Was it a sense of relief, you think, for him to admit this today?
I do. I think that was a huge sense of relief for him. I'm not in his position, obviously, and I never will be. But when you have that type of in your head and on your body and just, I think by admitting it, I think it's cathartic to some extent, sure.
Mike, are we expecting to get into more detail about how he did all of this at sentencing?
No.
What does the fact of the DNA evidence not being appealable do for other cases in this state?
You know what? I'm going to let Ms. Koish answer that because she really is now an expert on this area.
Yeah, so what we have in this prior decision is a Supreme
Danielle,
Court
just stand a little
decision.
closer.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a
No, we
Supreme
can talk
Court
about that now.
decision. Another Supreme Court justice could hear the same issues and either agree with Judge Mazie or disagree with Judge Mazie. It's not a controlling decision yet. Okay, so I assume we're going to hear more. I think that this type of technology, now that the door was open, is going to be used more, and similar legal challenges are going to be raised. And it's up and until we get to the higher courts, what we call the appellate division over in Brooklyn, or even our Court of Appeals, does that decision become binding? So Judge Mazie's decision certainly opened the door. We're going to see it, and I'm sure we're going to hear what other Supreme Court justices and other judges in New York think about the case. But as of right now, it's just a door opening decision.
Mr. Brown, can you just
Yeah, because other
clarify-
cases are going to cite it. I mean, it's a lower court decision, but other cases are going to cite it in support of their position if they want to ever use that type of DNA.
If there was an agreement, he's pleaded guilty to 7 counts. He also acknowledged an 8th murder. But then there's something about no future prosecutions. Does that mean if there were other victims found in Suffolk that there would not be prosecutions?
No, there will be no further prosecutions on these 8 victims.
How did the 8th one come about? Like, how did that end up being part of it?
When he decided he wanted to plead guilty, we had that covered as part of his plea, and there'll be no further prosecutions as long as he cooperates with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit.
So they probably had evidence against him for Karen Vergata, and they were probably intending to charge him. This is just my hypothesis. And so Brown was probably advised of that and said, listen, you know, if he comes clean on Karen Vergata and agrees to work with the BAU, I mean, we'll go a little lighter on the sentencing, but quite frankly, he's never going to see the outside of a prison cell. So he's never getting out no matter what. Oops.
Rex maintaining that he has no other victims out there.
No, he's maintaining he has no other victims other than the 8, correct? Yes.
When did Karen Vergata enter the conversation with you?
It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't have the timeline. I can't tell you. Obviously, she came into play. Her as a victim came into play at some point. I can't tell you exactly when.
Weeks, months?
I don't know.
How much was the...
Mr. Brown, could you tell us if his family might have helped him make this decision?
I think that they speak, and I think that there was, I can tell you that, I'll say this, certainly several of his concerns, he had many about why he didn't want to go to trial and plead guilty. He certainly wanted to save the families of the victims the ordeal of going to trial, and coupled with saving his family that ordeal.
Oh, isn't that nice of him to protect the families of the victims from having to go through a trial? He's now all of a sudden, he's, you know, he feels sorry for the families of the victims. Where was his, you know, he wasn't feeling sorry for the victims when he was brutally murdering them and then using their phones to taunt their families. Marcy's Live says, I think he pled out to protect his family from prosecution. I don't know about that. Because I don't know if his family was involved, except for we're going to listen to what a witness told John Ray in the affidavit, and we'll see if we believe that. And that had to do with Karen Vergata. And then all of a sudden he's pleading guilty to Karen Vergata, which is interesting to me. We're going to look at that after this. But now he wants to save his family the ordeal. Also, his family is going to be able to continue their documentaries and everything else, and they can make money off of that because they lost everything when Rex Heuermann was arrested and since.
So I know that there was conversations during the course of this defense between his family members and himself in regards to that, yes.
Did he not want his family members, wife, and his daughter to know the details of the murders that he committed?
You know, I would assume that. I'm sure, again, there was conversations about having them avoid the ordeal of a trial. It was definitely a factor. Yes.
How much of a factor was federal charges and with that death penalty a factor in his decision?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into any of that. I'm not at liberty to discuss that. The record speaks for itself today.
What are the total legal fees? Hold on. How much of a factor was federal charges in his decision? Jenny Lyons wants to know if he knows where Nancy Guthrie is too. Sometimes we have to laugh or else we're just going to cry. Justice for Karen Vergata finally too. And Karen Vergata, there's a relative. Karen Vergata's cousin's wife is often in the chat. I don't know if she's here today, but prayers for your family. And finally, I guess your family has some closure. So I guess that's a good thing in all of this.
And with that death penalty,
Yes.
how much of a factor was federal charges?
What
and
federal
with that,
charges?
Death penalty a factor in his decision?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into any of that. I'm not at liberty to discuss that. The record speaks for itself today.
What were the total legal fees
The legal fees?
that he had spent? Yeah.
So this is an assigned case. The county, on most murders in Suffolk County, there's a organization called 18B.
Okay, first of all, Suffolk County is not spelled Suffach. Okay? Like, is there a county anywhere in the US that is spelled Suffolk, Suffach? Closed captions. It's Suffolk. And 18B is going to tell us about 18B attorneys, which is assigned counsel to private attorneys.
It's an assigned counsel under the 18B law, and they're the ones who fund it.
Mr. Brown, what is Mr. Thurman's outlook now that he is no longer in the fighting phase? He's now facing the rest of his life behind bars.
Well, his outlook is probably now dim, I would say. Dim, although he's going to get out for a little while to, Silence of the Lambs things for a bit. Clarice is going to be able to come visit him and he can talk about his crimes and she can pick his brain. If you get that reference, you get that reference.
I don't know. We just took a plea this morning, so I don't
Concerns
know.
about him in terms of being confined for so long and how he might react to that?
We didn't cross that bridge yet.
Did he,
All right.
this man, he was an architect, a father, married. Did he ever talk once he decided he was going to plead guilty about what motivated him to kill these women?
Those conversations, if we did have them, obviously going to be confidential.
What
I would
motivated
expect
him
that
to kill these
when
women?
he talks to the behavioral.
I mean, if he's going to talk to the BAU, are they going to be able to publish their results? Because, we have the Son of Sam law here in New York, and you cannot profit from your crime. So he can't write a book, can't do a mini series, he can't sell the rights to his story. Here's Tiny Jesus, motion granted. But will the BAU be allowed to, publish the findings of whatever it is that he tells them? And so that I want to know that too. Tell us everything, Michael Brown.
Obviously going to be confidential. I would expect that when he talks to the behavioral science unit, they'll have those very questions to ask him, but I can't disclose that.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
The last time we were here, you said the person who killed the victims also killed Shannon Gilbert. And you said that with some modicum of certainty.
I think what we talked about.
Sorry, wait, what? What about Shannon Gilbert? The last time we were here, you said.
But I can't disclose that.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
The last time we were here, you said the person who killed the victims also killed Shannon Gilbert.
Oh, the last time we were here, he said the person who killed the victims also killed Shannon Gilbert. I don't remember him saying that, but tell us more.
And you said that with some modicum of certainty.
I think what we talked about is it could be very likely that the one who is responsible for this is also responsible for Shannon Gilbert.
Oh.
He had nothing to do with Shannon Gilbert, and my understanding is, and I'm not going to advocate one way or another, that the homicide squad and the district attorney's office believe that that's accidental. But the expert is here. You can ask Mr. Ray later.
But you had
Mr. Ray, John Ray is there. Many people have theorized that Heuermann did not work alone and that there was a ring of these men out in Nassau and Suffolk County who were hunters, who may have perhaps sent these women out into the woods naked and tracked them down and killed them, and he was not the only one. And so will Rex Heuermann roll over on some other people? I have questions. So we'll see.
said that you believed that it was tied. Whoever did the 7 was responsible for Shannon Gilbert.
Well, now we have 8. But the answer is apparently that's not the case.
Oh, apparently. Oh, apparently that's not the case. Look at his tongue sticking out of his mouth. What do the behavioral experts say about that? Apparently he did not kill Shannon Gilbert, but does he know who did? Does he know who did? Is he going to tell us everything? That's interesting.
It doesn't seem like much of a favorable deal for Rex. I mean, he's spending the rest of his life in prison. There's another victim that he just admitted to. Are there other aspects of the deal that we don't know about? Like maybe he's going to be in a prison closer to his family or anything like that?
Right. I wondered that too. Like, what's in it for him? He's still getting LWOP on 3 consecutive sentences and then 25 to life on another 3. Like, what's in it for him? Is he going to get a prison closer to his family? So no, that somebody asked, does he go to Rikers? No, he doesn't. He's been held in Suffolk County Correctional Facility, which is a jail. And then they go to a state prison, which could be all the way upstate, like near Buffalo. Like, I want to know if there's anything like that was offered to him also. Let's see.
All I can say is what I discussed earlier, which is there's no more prosecutions and he's going to have to cooperate with the FBI's behavioral analysis unit. I got to go in 2 minutes, guys.
So that's all he can say. That's all he could say. So he can't say that perhaps he's going to be housed in a prison closer to his family. I don't know, right? He won't go up to the border by Canada, says Scott. That's what I'm thinking. Is he going to get to stay closer? Where's the closest state prison to Long Island? Now he's all of a sudden like, I got a thing. Stace, I got to go.
So any other questions?
Rex after he entered?
Anybody else? Nicole, you're dominating this thing.
Yeah. There's still one unidentified victim on Ocean Parkway. No one's been charged with them yet. We know them as Asian Doe. Did he say anything to you about that victim?
Yeah, he's denied any involvement with Asian Doe.
What about the rest of Heuermann's family, like his siblings? Like they haven't been at any appearances. Does he have?
I can't tell you. I haven't had any conversations with any of his siblings. So I don't know the answer to that.
Can you clarify his role cooperating with the behavioral analysis unit? Is that for investigative purposes, or is that so they can study the mind of a serial killer?
I can't get into any of the details of it. All I can tell you is he has an obligation to be truthful, accurate, and complete with the FBI's behavioral analysis unit. All right, folks.
What would it like for you to walk into a room and have him turn around to you and say, I'm going to plead guilty to this, I did that. After all these months and years of defending him out.
All right. I think that's Greg Sergel. He should know better to speak up, but I'll listen to it. The BAU, I'm sure, is going to come to him. I don't think he's going to be transported to meet with the BAU. They'll probably come to him, just like Clarice did to Hannibal Lecter. Hang on.
Folks.
What would it like for you to walk into a room and have him turn around to you and say, I'm going to plead guilty to this, I did that?
What was it like for you to go into a room with him and have him turn around and say, I'm going to plead guilty?
After all these months and years of defending him out in public.
Listen.
After all these months and years of defending him out in public.
And we're advocates. That's what we do. Good lawyers advocate for their clients. He maintained that he's not guilty. We advocated on his behalf. We worked very hard on this case. We've been preparing for trial. We went. I can't tell you the amount of the volume of discovery that we reviewed. Ms. Koish submitted some really great motions. Some of them are real novel issues. It's going to come to fruition in several years. But when somebody pivots and says, I'm done and I want to accept responsibility, all right, as the attorney, we have to follow his directive.
All right.
All right, guys, thanks for your time. Take care.
Obviously we have a lot of,
all right. So that was the presser with Michael Brown. And Boris says, thanks for covering this. She's been interviewed. She's made statements and she's profiting. You're talking about Asa. More will come out. She's not like the other wives. John Ray isn't wrong about her. That makes me want to pivot now to the old press conference that. Okay, so this is the old press conference. We went over this when it first happened. Okay, this was October 18th of 2023. And this was back when Rodney Harrison was still in charge of the Gilgo Beach Task Force. And John Ray, who has been the attorney for Shannon Gilbert, or her estate, actually, her family, since 2010, made this statement in a press conference with Rodney Harrison standing next to him. This was from 10/18/23. And he talks about a witness that came forward to tell him about Karen Vergata and Rex Heuermann. And it turns out that since Rex Heuermann pled guilty to the murder of Karen Vergata today, or yesterday, I'm sorry, that was yesterday. My days are getting screwed up. Tell me what you now think about this, okay? Because we watched it when it happened. A lot of people think John Ray is batshit crazy. He's been living this case since 2010, trying to get justice for Shannon Gilbert. And there are many people, witnesses, who come to him instead of going to the police because they trust him more. And this is when he talked about new details in the investigation and new witnesses that came to him. Specifically, I have this queued up just to talk about Karen Vergata. All right, here we go.
3 times for a total of 9 hours. And
I have to take this back a little tiny bit. Tell me if it needs to be boosted.
Until on TV, she sees the picture of Karen Vergata. And she recognizes her and said, that's her. And she recognizes Rex Heuermann. And so she comes forward, and I meet her. I interview her at great length. I also had the police department. We arranged for detectives to interview her. And I found her story. I interviewed her for 3 times for a total of 9 hours. And I found her story to be credible. She also mentioned that Rex would go out in the backyard and start a fire at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in a big barrel that was outside in the back. And she was worried about that too, that it would attract police. Anyway, she seemed credible. She appears to be credible. And she was willing to sign an affidavit to that effect. And that affidavit will be available to everybody. In the details I've just told you, you will find there. The second witness who's come forward. This woman is not a sex worker, never was. She's not a switcher or swapper. She's not involved in any.
Okay, we got to go back because the first witness that he talks about is the witness who was a swinger. Hold on.
With me. And
let's go back to the beginning. Oops.
We're here today because new information has been has arisen in this case from witnesses who were so far unknown. Those witnesses, of which there are 4, have given us statements, 2 of whom have given us affidavits regarding this case, regarding Rex Heuermann.
He's known for his wacky sense of fashion. So if you're not looking at your screen, come and look at your screen. He's wearing a black satin blazer, a pink button-down shirt, a pink and white polka dotted tie, and a little tiny fedora that is like gray with red pinstripes and some yellow pinstripes. Sometimes he wears seersucker suits. His John Ray son, and he usually has a ponytail. So we'll see if he's wearing a scrunchie today. I'm not sure.
And Shannon Gilbert and Karen Vergata. Before I talk about them, first, I want you to be aware that here stands the commissioner, as you know, with me. And up until now, we have not made it known.
That's Rodney Harrison, the Suffolk County, at the time, Suffolk County Police Commissioner, not Wesley Snipes. Sapiaries wanted to know if that was Wesley Snipes. He does look like the Easter Bunny.
Known to the public that we have been working together on this case steadily since the time that I came to know Commissioner Harris a year ago, February. Up until that point, the police department was very resistant to receiving any kind of evidence or information from my office from what I was doing. That all changed significantly when Commissioner Harris stepped in and we began to collaborate. And we've collaborated ever since. That collaboration has had fruit. And that fruit, at least, are the witnesses I'm going to be talking about today, as well as other evidence and information which we have shared together and with the police department, and therefore with the task force. So It is true to say that our cooperation has given rise to more substantial, valuable evidence in the entire case of the Long Island serial killer. So with that in mind, I'm very pleased that Commissioner Harrison has seen fit to open his mind and to do what I'm suggesting has been done, contrary to all those who have come before him. And he's approaching this case in the right way. He's the right man for the job, and he's done his job well.
Yeah, and he left
As
right
to
after
the
this.
witnesses, as to the evidence, in no particular order of importance, because so much of it is important. I have stood as a beacon as a civilian beacon to the people who are involved in this case to come and talk where they didn't want to approach the police out of fear, out of apprehension, out of a natural, in some cases, a natural distaste for the police department because of the work these people were in. So they would then come to me and speak to me, and I would interview them, and we would then cooperate, them and the police department. And so with that in mind, the first two witnesses I'm going to talk about are, both of them are not Suffolk County residents. I should point out that we obtained from these two affidavits, their names will go unmentioned. Their names are blotted out of the affidavits, but the affidavits will be available to you right after the press conference. As to the first one I'll talk about, this is a witness who has every reason to have no bias, no interest in the case whatsoever. She was not a sex worker, is not a sex worker, and instead, back in the 90s, in the 1990s, she was what is known then and now as a swinger.
Here we go. Here comes the pineapple. The pineapples have entered the chat. Now listen to this, because this is really, really interesting to me.
She would have a sex partner, and they would go to certain sex clubs in New York City where they would switch partners with other people of like kind. One of the most important places that they would go was called La Trapeze on West 27th Street in New York, right near Rex Heuermann's office. And
anybody remember La Trapeze? I don't. I'm just asking.
This was a notorious place for swapping, for switching partners. Sometimes several hundred people at a time would be involved in this place in its heyday. Its heyday was in the late 90s, right at the time that Karen Vergata is involved in this case. In this situation, this particular woman was dating a police officer from New York City who was in narcotics, a detective, and they would go to these switchy clubs, these swapping clubs. At a certain time, at or about Valentine's Day of 1996, I believe, the couple went to La Trapeze, and I think it was on the wall at La Trapeze where an advertisement was placed to go to a house in Massapequa Park.
Okay, listen up. Karen Vergata went missing on Valentine's Day in 1996. That's when she went missing, Valentine's Day of 1996. This is a witness who came forward that said that she and her NYPD narcotics detective boyfriend went to La Trapeze. They saw a flyer on the bulletin board to come to Massapequa to a house to do a swappy or whatever he said. Okay. This is very important. And this was all the way back in October of 2023 when this witness came to John Ray, and he interviewed her for something like 9 hours, and she signed an affidavit to this effect. So listen.
Trapeze, and I think it was on the wall at La Trapeze where an advertisement was placed to go to a house in Massapequa Park for partying, for switching, for swapping. She went with her boyfriend out to Long Island. But before they went, her boyfriend picked up a woman in New York, in the city, who had apparently just gotten out of jail, and she was disheveled and hungry, and she was a sex worker. We don't know the details yet of how he came to know her, but he knew her. And she came in the car with the two of them. They went to Massapequa Park. Before they got there, they stopped at a gas station, and the girl who was with them expressed some apprehension about where they were going and why. That was all wiped out when it was pointed out that he's a police detective, so don't worry, no problem. They ended up going to Rex Heuermann's house.
On
In
Valentine's
the house
Day.
Was the wife of Rex Heuermann.
And the wife was there, according to this witness. They went to Heuermann's house. They picked up Karen Vergata, who had just gotten out of jail. They went to Heuermann's house, and Asa was there. So listen to the rest of this story. If you never heard this story before, and isn't it ironic that yesterday, Heuermann, never having been charged with the murder of Karen Vergata, admitted to the murder of Karen Vergata, but he said in his allocution that he met her in April of 1996. Why? Perhaps to take suspicion off the family, because this witness puts Asa in the house with Karen Vergata and Rex and her NYPD narcotics detective boyfriend. Listen to the rest of this story because it's wild. And that's the last day Karen Vergata was seen.
And Rex Heuermann and the other girl. The other girl who we believe to be Karen Vergata. This girl disappears downstairs at the house. Rex Heuermann disappears. And according to our witness and other witnesses I've talked to, when men are swingers with their partner, very often they switch sexually. They go back and forth between male and female. And so Heuermann leaves the main floor and disappears either into another bedroom or downstairs. It's not clear.
You remember what was found in the basement when the home was searched for something like a week? A little tiny room with a dirty mattress in it that they called I can't remember. What did they store in that little tiny room? Was it guns? And everyone was like, that wasn't a dungeon or anything, but there was a mattress down there. Remember? Those are the details that I wanted to hear about during the trial. What was found in the basement? What was found in the house? What was found when they dug up the yard? Remember what Ray Tierney said at the press conference? I mean, if something like a bicycle was dug up under the yard, like where did that bicycle come from? I wanted to know all that stuff. We're never going to know. But Rex went down somewhere with the man. Hold on. Because it gets worse.
Heuermann leaves the main floor and disappears either into another bedroom or downstairs. It's not clear. And the witness talks to Rex's wife. She doesn't want to have sex like she had expected to occur because our client believes because our client is an African-American woman. And Heuermann didn't like that. Ellerup, rather, didn't like that. So there was no sex between them, as was originally planned. Instead, the sex is between Heuermann and the other man. At some point, the witness goes looking for her partner and is kind of upset that he doesn't emerge. He emerges, and finally, they leave, and kind of in a hurry. But when they leave, as they're leaving, the witness...
If your mind has wandered, come back, because when they're leaving, this is the most chilling part. Michael says he was listening to this from the other room and thought it was John Voight. Some other people said it sounded like Bill Reed. Okay, this is very detailed, and this is Valentine's Day. Listen.
Emerges, and finally, they leave, and kind of in a hurry. But when they leave, as they're leaving, the witness points out that she could see in the window looking out the girl that had come with them. And she says to her driver, her partner, "What are we doing? Are we taking her?" And the partner says, "Don't worry, they're just playing a game. She stays there, no problem."
They're just playing a game. This NYPD detective from narcotics has never been named to my knowledge. Don't worry, they're just playing a game. How many times was this game played? This is what makes me think it's so much bigger than Rex Heuermann. Don't worry, they're just playing a game. Listen.
With that, the girl runs out of the house naked and is running in front of the garage. And now the witness says, "Hey, shouldn't we be taking her? Something's wrong here." And the driver tells her, "Nah, they're just playing a game. Leave it." And they leave.
They leave on Valentine's Day. Karen Vergata is running around naked outside. And the detective just says, "Don't worry, they're just playing a game. They're just playing a game." Yes, Ad Astra. And they ran John Ray through the mud since Shannon. Yep. Let's keep listening.
She never hears about the incident again. She distinctly remembers Heuermann. She also had intercourse with Heuermann that same day. And she kind of buries it, forgets about it. Until on TV, she sees the picture of Karen Vergata.
Oh.
And she recognizes her and said, "That's her." And she recognizes Rex Heuermann.
Mm-hmm.
And so she comes forward, and I meet her. I interview her at great length. I also had the police department. We arranged for detectives to interview her. And I found her story. I interviewed her for 3 times for a total of 9 hours. And I found her story to be credible. She also mentioned that Rex would go out in the backyard and start a fire at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in a big barrel that was outside in the back.
Well, the neighbors said that too. The neighbors say he was starting fires all the time. He had a big barrel or a big trash can or a big, big metal something, fire pit in the backyard. And he was burning fires at all hours. What was he burning in there? Clothing? She wasn't the only one who talked about the fires in the house.
And she was worried about that too, that it would attract police. Anyway, she seemed credible. She appears to be credible. And she was willing to sign an affidavit to that effect. And that affidavit will be available to everybody. In the details I've just told you, you will find there. The second witness.
Okay, so that's it. That was all about Karen Vergata. He told us everything in October of 2023, and it took until April 8th of 2026 for Rex Heuermann to plead guilty to the murder of Karen Vergata, even though he had not been yet charged. And Rodney Harrison, who was police commissioner of Suffolk County at the time, resigned soon after, I believe, this press conference. And so a lot of people think John Ray is crazy, or are people just more likely to go to John Ray with their stories than the regular, law enforcement? Here, hold for a sec. There was I just have to look at my playlist because the day before a lawsuit was filed against Heuermann, and Macedonio spoke out about that too. That's after the plea. Hold, please. Let me go back to my.
Obviously we have a lot of victims' families here.
I just found it interesting that in his allocution, Heuermann said, yes, I did kill Karen Vergata, but he said he didn't meet her until April of 1996. So was that intentional? What do you think? My history from yesterday is long. Oh, please. All right, I have to find it, but he did a presser yesterday, didn't he? I mean, the day before, Macedonia. Where is it? I'll have to find it. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the
Kevin
press conference after court with Ray Tierney. It's not as exciting as the stuff that we just watched, but we'll watch a little bit of that. And the families also did speak out. And then Gloria Allred asked if anybody had any questions, and nobody wanted to speak to her, which was kind of interesting. Let me get the full screen. All right, here we go.
And left their bodies in Suffolk.
Let's listen in.
Walked among us.
All right, well, CBS didn't start until the middle, so give me a second to find my playlist. Oh, please.
Track police.
As a yes?
Here we go. What I also found strange about this is they didn't do the press conference right outside of the courthouse. They made everybody travel all the way to Brentwood to do this press conference, which I thought was a little bit strange. All right, here we go.
Okay, good afternoon. Thanks everyone for coming. This defendant walked among us, play acting as a normal suburban dad, when in reality, all along, he was obsessively targeting innocent women for death. He identified these women, lured them into Nassau County, murdered them, and left their bodies in Suffolk County. He thought that by killing them, he could silence them forever and get away with murder. But he was wrong, because it was these victims, these women, who refused to stay silent. First, that silence was broken by the victims' families, who advocated for their loved ones and agitated for justice. Then the noise grew louder through the ensuing investigation and examination of the evidence that the defendant left at or around the crime scenes, as well as on the bodies of the women themselves, that further told the stories of these victims and what had actually happened to them. It was this evidence that ultimately was put together by the task force that proved to be the defendant's undoing and led to the pleas of guilt in today's court proceeding. And it is in this way that these murders were solved. And while we in law enforcement, as well as our Suffolk County citizens, mourn the loss of these victims, we are also grateful to them and to their families, because without them, this defendant would have never been brought to justice and would still be walking amongst us. And he would still be portraying himself as that same harmless father next door, instead of what he is, a convicted murderer. Ultimately, this case is really about these victims and their stories. It is not about this defendant. And I speak for everyone in law enforcement, and when I say we are honored and thankful for being able to have played a small role in obtaining a small measure of justice for these families. For decades, this case stood out as a painful scar on the face of Suffolk County law enforcement, Suffolk County government, the citizens of Suffolk County, and the victims' families as well. However,
again, with the SUFFACH, Right. He did leave Rodney Harrison's name out of his speech. Reb 13 says politics is still at play in Suffolk County, evident by Tierney leaving Rodney Harrison's name out of his thanks bro speech. Yep.
With the defendant's pleas of guilt today, it means that for the first time since the deaths of these women, we can turn to all of these same people and say, Rex Heuermann will be held responsible for the 1993 murder of Sandra Castilla, the 1996 murder of Karen Vergata, the 2000 murder of Valerie Mack, the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor, the 2007 murder of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, the 2009 murder of Melissa Barthelemy, the June 2009 murder of Megan Waterman, and the September 2010 murder of Ms. Costello. Despite this tragedy, there's a lot of different emotions, and I guess the word for today, despite the tragedy, despite all those emotions, is thankfulness. We are thankful. We have a lot to be thankful for, despite these emotions. First and foremost, we are thankful for the victims and the victims' families who told their stories, their loved ones' stories, and defended their loved ones' legacies. Without them, we would have never truly gotten to know those victims. My start in this case occurred before I took office. A homicide detective with the Suffolk County PD, Pat Portella, gave my phone number to Melissa and Amanda. Melissa is, of course, Maureen Brainard-Barnes' sister, and Amanda is Melissa Barthelemy's sister. And they spoke with me. We had a really good phone conversation. And during that phone conversation, I heard the pain and frustration in their voices. They wanted answers. They wanted closure. I told them that we were going to do things differently. It was going to be a new manner of doing things. We were going to form a task force, and we were going to bring all of the talents of all these people standing here to bear.
I'm going to say this again. While he pats himself on the back and dislocates his shoulder while doing it, they've had the information on Rex Heuermann since 2010. Okay? Since Amber Costello went missing and her roommate told them everything. They've had the information since 2010. So don't dislocate your shoulder or break an arm by patting yourself on the back that, 16 years later, there's finally justice for those victims, and finally justice 33 years later for Sandra Castilla and 30 years later for Karen Vergata. It is one of the most disgusting cases ever, says Hulda, and I agree. Hope Sunshine, I have no idea which prison he's going to go to. But thanks for being here for 23 months, and thank you for thanking me. And I love you too. With all of my heart. Yeah, so we don't know where he's going yet. But based on what Michael Brown didn't say, that he can't say if there's any sort of deal about where he's going to be housed and whether it's going to be closer to his family, I bet that it's going to be closer to his family. So, as you can see here to the left of your screen, to the left of Ray Tierney is some of the family members of the victims. And to the right is all the people he's thanking.
We're going to work together. We're going to not use this case as a political football to be kicked into the news stream on slow days or whenever it suited the political leader's purpose. We were going to be quiet. We were going to pretend as though it was business as usual in Suffolk County. And the reason why we were going to do that was because we knew what we were doing. We were playing to an audience of one. And that one person, of course, was the murderer. We wanted to lure that individual into a false sense of security. We wanted him to think he got away with this. And that was exactly what we did. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because when we solved this case and we had those arrest warrants and executed those search warrants, we wanted more evidence, and that's exactly what we got. So we were thankful for that. We were thankful we were able to bring this case to a close, but it started, our inspiration was these victims and their families. But those families were so much more to us. Through them, we truly got to know these victims. When we started, the victims were nothing but names on a blotter, black and white, writing on investigative reports. But once we spoke to the victims, they provided us with the color of these women, and we got to know them as the wonderful mothers, sisters, friends, and daughters that they were. And that inspired us even more to close this case, to come to a resolution.
Right, because the original investigators were like, oh, they're just, a bunch of hookers. James Burke, Tom Spoda, up to their own shenanigans, tomfoolery, and ballyhoo, to the point where they didn't want anybody looking for the killer of all of these bodies that were found on Gilgo. They wouldn't let the FBI in all the way back then, remember? Maybe you remember, but if you didn't, I'm telling you.
Solution. So again, first and foremost, we are thankful for those families. And I just want to individually, mention all of the families. The Brainard-Barnes family, I already spoke with Melissa, but I want to thank Melissa and her husband, Chris, and their children. Marie, who is Maureen's mom, Nicolette and Dylan, who are Maureen's two children. We want to thank them for their support, not only of Maureen, but for our investigation as well. And we want to say, on behalf of Suffolk County, we're sorry. The Barthelemy family, Amanda, who's Melissa's sister, Lynn, her mom, and Jeff, Lynn's partner. We want to thank them as well. When this case started, it started with the grand. Well, it didn't start, but the charging started with the grand jury, and Amanda, Lynn, and Melissa came down and helped us with the grand jury. And I remember when Lynn came in, it was about 2-day proceeding, and when Lynn first walked in, she appeared a certain way, and by the end of that second day, she looked completely different. You could see that having forced her to relive this, you could see the sadness in her face and in her eyes, and we're sorry for that. But without their cooperation, we wouldn't be here today. So to Amanda, Lynn, Jeff, and everyone in the Barthelemy family, we want to.
Amanda, right? Makazi G is here. Hi, Makazi G. Amanda is the sister that Rex Heuermann taunted using Maureen's phone and called her and taunted her, telling her what he did to her sister. There is no death penalty in New York. Somebody asked that before.
Say thank you, and we want to say we're sorry. To the Waterman family, we have Megan's aunt, Liz, and we have her daughter, Lily. We want to thank them. We didn't get to know them until after the indictment. But again, the way that they stood by Megan and the way they supported us, we want to say to them, thank you, and we're sorry. To Amber Costello and her family, specifically Amber's sister, Kim, we want to say thank you. And again, thank you for the support. And again, we're sorry for the loss of Amber. Valerie Mack, we met shortly.
I'm sorry. I think I said Maureen, but it was Melissa's sister, Amanda. Rex taunted Melissa, Maureen, 2 M's. It's Melissa Barthelemy's sister, Amanda. She was 15 years old at the time that Rex Heuermann called her and taunted her.
Before the indictment, we met Ed and Joanne Mack. Ed and Joanne Mack were foster parents and then the adopted parents of Valerie. And they gave Valerie the only happy home she ever knew. And really the only support she probably ever knew in her life. Meeting with them, they're incredibly special people. They're heroes. We also got to know Valerie's sister, Angela, and her son, Aaron. Again, equally wonderful people. So to them, we want to say thank you, and we're sorry. Jessica Taylor, we got to know Jessica's mom, Liz, after the indictment. Prior to the indictment, we got to know Jessica's cousin, Jasmine. And right after the initial indictment of the first 3 victims, Jasmine came to us on behalf of Liz and said, please help us. Please find out what happened to Jessica. And at that time, we didn't have enough. And we said, look, we're going to work and we're going to try to get there. And we're going to work as hard as we can. Please trust us. And, Jasmine, on behalf of Liz, said they would do just that. So to Jasmine and Liz, I want to say thank you. And again, we're sorry. To the Vergata family, Karen Vergata. We recently went, I did, I know members of the Suffolk County PD had already spoken to the family, but my team recently went and we saw Eric and Gary, who are Karen's sons. Gary's not here today, but we got to meet Gary, and I know Gary's watching, so we want to say hello to Gary. Eric's here. We want to thank Eric. And again, we want to thank you and tell them how much we admire them for supporting their mom and for supporting us. And again, we want to say we're sorry. On behalf of all of Suffolk County, we're sorry for Karen's passing. The Castilla family, Cassandra Castilla. We had the opportunity shortly before the indictment to meet with Ariel, who's the husband of Ruth, and Ruth is Sandra's sister. Again, wonderful people who really stood by and supported Sandra. So we want to thank them for that. We want to thank them for their support of our investigation. And on behalf of Suffolk County, we want to tell them we're sorry. We're sorry. So that's the family. Again, they inspired us.
Are you sorry for your failures? Are you sorry on behalf of the Suffolk County PD and the Chief of Police, James Burke, who ignored the information that they had since 2010? Are you sorry about that? Gigi says, do they seriously think this monster is going to be honest with the FBI, BAU? Give him the chair and study what brain he had. Well, there's no death penalty in New York, Gigi, but I get what you're saying. Thanks for your 5. Beth says, glad to be here for 10 months. Thank you so much, Beth Ellen. And everyone remember to hit the like button. It's the They Do Not Care Club, says Caroline. Yeah, it's like they do not care. Tracy says, what's this about a hunting party? I have surmised, and other people have, they were all hunters, a lot of these guys. Well, Rex belonged to a couple of hunting clubs out on Long Island. And some people have thought that there was a ring of these guys who would send these women out to be hunted. And based on, where they were found and such other things, maybe that's why he took a plea, because he was told to by other people, maybe who are higher up, who are also involved. We don't know. We don't know. Thanks, Tracy, for your 10 and for becoming a member. BB says, didn't he attempt to get someone else in the park? Allegedly, it was around July 4th, I believe. He was trying to speak to her and she creeped out, got scared, and called someone to pick her up. I don't remember if this was the Heuermann case or if this was a different case, MP, because we've covered so many cases together that I may be conflating my cases. I remember what you're talking about, but I don't remember if that was the Rex Heuermann thing. If anybody in the chat remembers what that is, because I know what you're talking about, MPB. I just don't remember if it was him. Like before he was arrested, like close in time to his arrest. Let's play this out.
Reason why we do what we do. Today was a very special day for us in law enforcement because it gave us the opportunity to turn to these victims and their families and say, listen, we told you we were going to work. And that's why we work in law enforcement. And, we were able to do that to a small measure today. So we're happy for that. And again, so thankful for them. In addition to our victims' families, we have our law enforcement family. And, this case was, brought home by a task force that brought to bear the talents of a number of really great investigators from a lot of really great agencies. And again, so thankful to be able to have worked with so many talented people. It's not really, some people say, well, this person solved Gilgo or that person solved Gilgo.
Motion to fast forward through him and listen to the families, granted. And then maybe if he takes any questions at the end, which he does. So, all right, here we go.
Today's announcement highlights.
Who's this? Hold on. I don't know who that guy is, but This is like an hour and a half long. This is a short portion of it.
That is entrusted to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now that you're back, we look forward to resuming our great relationship with you. Obviously, we have a lot of victims' families here. I believe that we're going to, Gloria Allred represents a number of those victims, and I think they asked for Gloria to come forward and make a statement on behalf of many of the victims. So we'll call Ms. Allred.
This was a little embarrassing.
Thank you. I'm attorney Gloria Allred, and I represent a number of the family members who suffered the terrible fate of the tragedy that was inflicted on their loved one. Today, Rex Heuermann, who thought he had the perfect blueprint and plan for serial murder, pled guilty to the murder of 8 young women. Some of these murder victims were young mothers just trying to earn a little extra money to support their children. Because many did not have funds to go to college or get a decent job that would help them to provide adequate.
When I said this was embarrassing, I didn't mean what she was saying about the women. I meant the fact that nobody had any questions of her, which will come after.
Support for their children. They turned to sex work in order to help their families. It wasn't what they wanted to do, but it was what they felt forced to do because they had no meaningful alternatives. Some wanted to help their parents, their grandparents, and their loved ones. Some just wanted to survive in this difficult and challenging world. Little did they know that the defendant, Rex Heuermann, did not care about their hopes and dreams, or that they had families and friends who loved them. He appeared to care only for himself and executing what he thought was his perfect blueprint for murder. The evidence gathered and articulated in the prosecutor's response to the defendant's bail application demonstrated that the defendant had a, quote, planning document, end quote, utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint and plan out his kills. And those are quotes from the bail application. He also believed he had a perfect plan to avoid collection of evidence against him and to evade capture by law enforcement. However, what he had thought was his perfect blueprint for serial murder did not take into account the courage and the persistence of the murder victims' family members who refused to give up until the murderer of their loved ones was found, convicted, and sent to prison for the rest of his life without the possibility of parole. Many of the murder victims' family members became the voices of their loved ones, crying out for them not to be ignored and forgotten, and demanding answers and justice for them. Many of those family members whom I represent are here today. It was bittersweet for them to be in court and hear the defendant plead guilty to the murder of their loved one and the manner of their death. But the truth was important to them, and they heard it today. Last week, they were faced with a difficult question. Did they agree with the Suffolk County District Attorney's decision to agree to accept the defendant's plea of guilty in lieu of trial? Or would they have preferred that a trial take place so that they could hear all of the evidence that the prosecutor would seek to admit against the defendant? In a few moments, you will hear their answers to that question. And I will ask them to come up to the microphone, or if they would prefer to stay where they are, they can answer from there. In no particular order. Family members of Megan Waterman, please come forward and state your name and relationship to Megan Waterman. Elizabeth Meserve is her aunt. A little louder, please, Elizabeth. Or can you come up here? Thank you.
This is the closest that they're ever going to get to giving victim impact statements. And so I think they deserve the respect and the courtesy of being able to do so. So I'm going to let these play all the way through.
So my name is Elizabeth Meserve. I'm Megan Waterman's aunt, and I helped to raise her daughter. And on behalf of Megan, we definitely accept the plea.
Thank you. And also, we have with us Megan's daughter, Liliana Waterman.
Oh, so sad.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Here.
My name is Liliana Waterman. I am the daughter of Megan Waterman, and on behalf of her and my aunt and all of our family back home, we do accept, and we are very, very thankful for everything that they've done for us.
Thank you.
Megan Waterman was 22 when she went missing. So her daughter was probably very young.
Family members of Melissa Barthelemy, please come forward and state your name and relationship to Melissa Barthelemy. Lynn Barthelemy, mother? No? Okay. Amanda Funderburg, sister?
Purple Pansy wants to know, is the female state trooper who cracked this case wide open standing in that sea of men? I would love to know too. I only see one female standing. She's shorter than the rest, so she's kind of hidden in the back. Not sure.
I'm Elizabeth Vakeel. I'm Jessica Taylor's mother. And I am glad that this is over as far as him pleading guilty. It took a big chunk of stress off of me and my family.
And you accepted the plea?
Oh, yes, I accept the plea wholeheartedly.
Thank you so much.
So this is a good thing for the families. They don't want to hear
And then we
it.
have Jasmine Robinson, who is a cousin of Jessica Taylor, victim Jessica Taylor. You okay? Family members of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, please come forward and state your name and relationship to Maureen Brainard-Barnes. Missy Khan's sister, Nicolette Brainard-Barnes' daughter, Dylan Haggett, son. This is Nicolette.
I am Nicolette Brainard-Barnes, the daughter of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, and on behalf of my mother, I accept this plea.
Dylan Haggett.
I am Dylan Haggett, the son of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, and I accept the plea.
Okay. So I think we have everyone.
Maureen Brainard-Barnes was 25 when she went missing. She was from Norwich, Connecticut.
That I represent. If there's anyone I don't represent who would like to say something, feel free to come forward. Okay. The defendant's plan to get away with the murders he committed was also unsuccessful. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay, I could actually just use this. Thank you. Somebody else. Oh, good. Just say your name, please.
I'm Diane Doherty, and I'm the mother of Karen's sons, Eric and Gary. And I just want to say I'm thankful that we came to a conclusion that brought peace to everybody. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you.
So sad.
Anyone else? Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Young
Thank you.
babies, young kids when their
The
moms
defendant's
were taken.
plan to get away with the murders he committed was also unsuccessful because many law enforcement officers who participated in this massive investigation were so dedicated. We would like to thank each and every one of you who contributed to bringing the defendant to justice. We deeply appreciate you and your dedication to finding, testing, and preserving evidence for this case. The result today would never have been achieved without your hard work and sacrifice. Even if we cannot meet and thank each one of you in person, please know that your efforts on behalf of the families, loved ones, are respected and appreciated. We look forward to thanking as many of you as possible after the time of the sentencing in June. The journey to justice has been painful for each and every family member who I represent. In conclusion, Melissa Kahn, also known as Missy, would like to share her feelings about this day and the almost 2 decades in which she has sought justice for her sister, Maureen Brainard-Barnes. Missy.
Thank you on top for your super sticker. Everyone remember to hit the like button, please.
Of course you can, sure. Thank you. Would you like to use it?
Melissa's been very outspoken throughout the years. She's fought for justice for her sister since
Hello.
2010.
Hi, my name's Melissa Can. Everybody calls me Missy, and I'm the sister of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, and this is my family, well, some of it. First, I want to begin by thanking the district attorney, his office, the detectives, the FBI, the New York State Police, and the entire task force. For years, they never stopped. They carried this case with determination and heart, and our family will forever be grateful. We are forever thankful for the work that led us here. Finally, a sense of relief. The guilty plea brings solace, and I like to thank everyone who had a part in that fight for justice. Thank you to our lawyer, Gloria Allred. I also would like to thank the media for continuing to keep this case in the public eye. Today, it's not about the person responsible. Today is about the women's lives who were stolen. It is about their voices, their future, and their families, the love that still surrounds them. They are the reason why we are here. 19 years, I lived in the space between heartbreak and hope. Throughout these years, I searched for answer, for truth, for justice. There were moments when the weight felt unbearable, but I never gave up. Maureen was never forgotten, not for a single moment. From the day she went missing until today, she has been carried in every breath, every memory, every fight for answers. This has been a long journey of hope that one day we would stand here and say her name with justice beside it. Today, that long, painful journey brings us to this moment. Our mission, our promise to Maureen is finally met with accountability. For Melissa's, Megan's, Amber's, Jessica's, Valerie's, Sandra's, and Karen's family, I stand with you in deep love and understanding. No one should ever have to walk this path, yet here we all are, connected by loss, by strength, and the unbreakable bond of our loved ones. The bond some of us has created has been one that is unique in a sense that it did not form from a previous friendship or blood. It was created by trying to pick up the pieces of our world that had shattered in tragedy. And I am so grateful for us. To every family out there still searching, still waiting, still holding on,
Please do not give up hope. Even when it feels impossible, even when the years pass and the silence grow heavy, keep going. Your loved ones matter. They are not forgotten, and one day answers can come. Finally, to Maureen, the promise I made to you so long ago was simple. Sorry. I would never stop searching for justice for you through every year, every setback, every unanswered question. I carried you with me, and I kept that promise. And today it has been done. Justice has finally found its way to you. Your voice was never silenced, your story never forgotten, and your life will always mean more than the tragedy that took you. This moment is not the end, but a reminder that love endures, truth prevails, and hope never fades, because even in the darkest moments, justice will find its way. Thank you.
Oh, that was so hard. It's so hard to listen to.
The victims will not be answering questions. I call them the victims because they are also victims, even though they are family of murder victims. I can take one question.
One
And
question.
if there are none. Yes, sir.
Crickets.
Could you speak up a little, please?
So after today's proceeding, the defense attorney, Michael Brown, when asked, why did he accept the plea deal? Why didn't he want to go through? Because he kept saying all the while, the last years, innocent, why now? Why all of a sudden? And his answer was, quote, he certainly wanted to save the families of the victims the ordeal was going to trial. I just wanted to hear what the victims.
Could you hear that question? Question was, after the hearing today, after the guilty plea, Michael Brown, the defense attorney, said that the reason that his client did take the plea and pled guilty to these murders is because he wanted to save the victims' families from having to sit through a trial. And he said, I want to know what the families thought about that sentiment.
Not much.
Yeah.
I saw something on Facebook today that the New York Post is still calling our girls sex workers. Stop it.
Ooh.
I don't have a, I don't.
She said, I saw on Facebook that the New York Post is still calling our girls sex workers. Stop it.
I don't have a comment on anything he says. Perhaps the district attorney does.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah. So thank you, Ms. Allred. Thank you, Missy. Thanks to the victims. Does
He's
anybody
trying to
have any
shut them up?
questions? Yes. Well, I think traditionally a change of plea is when, they plead guilty to every single count in the indictment. In this sense, we are going to be dismissing 3 charges. So that is a plea deal. Obviously, he's getting the maximum under the sentence. So how you categorize that, I would leave it to everyone. Yes. So I know, Mary, you're going to get sick of hearing this because I say it every time. Doesn't matter what I think, it matters what I can prove. You've heard that before, right, Mary? I think that, first thing we need to, there's a number of things we can do, but a huge step in moving that case forward would be to finally identify that individual. We're continuing to work with that IGG. And hopefully that we can do that, but we'll continue to work that case. We'll continue to work all the other, unfortunately, many cases in Suffolk County. So.
All right, I'm going to cut this here. Melanie Lewis says it. She's like, this guy sucks as a speaker. I happen to agree with you. I have not thought much of any of the press conferences that Ray Tierney has done during the pendency of this entire case since Rex Heuermann's arrest in July of 2023. Somebody asked, why is old Al? Does he have only one child? Yes, he has one child with Asa. That's the daughter Victoria, and he has a stepson, Asa's son, who I think was a young child when they got married. Rep 13 says, by Heuermann pleading guilty, all the dirty secrets of Suffolk County remain hidden. It's a win for Heuermann and Suffolk County only. John Ray pointed this out, a la Shannon Gilbert's unedited 911 call. Thank you very much. Kelly said, living in Suffolk County, glad there is some justice today. Thank you for shining some light for these victims. Mel, may the victims rest in peace. Yeah, always. May the victims rest in peace. One more thing that I wanted to show you was the press conference that was held the day before Rex Heuermann pled guilty. This was the day that a lawsuit was filed against Heuermann, his wife and daughter. So this is going to be Robert Macedonio, who has been the attorney for Asa Ellerup in both her divorce proceedings and pretty much anything else. Oops. That she has needed Macedonio for. He's been her mouthpiece throughout the pendency of this case. And he's going to talk a little bit about the civil case that was filed the day before the guilty plea. So listen to this.
In regards to the lawsuit filed by Johnny Ray, today is an extraordinary and difficult day for everyone impacted by these horrific crimes. And it's only...
So John Ray is the plaintiff's attorney in this new lawsuit. Okay, listen.
...made worse by the reckless actions of John Ray. Mr. Ray has spent the better part of a decade trying to remain relevant in this case and has consistently attacked my clients with vicious, unfounded, unsupported rumors and allegations. First and foremost, our hearts are with the victims and their families. They have endured unimaginable loss, and nothing said here today can ease that pain. But let me be absolutely clear, and I want to say this without ambiguity. Mrs. Ellerup and Victoria Heuermann had no knowledge, no involvement in, no connection whatsoever to these horrific crimes. None. I would like to add, Victoria Heuermann was 3 years old. She was 3 years old at the time of the homicide of Valerie Mack. Mr. Ray accuses her of active participation in a homicide where she was 3 years old.
Yeah, that's a little bit wild. It's a little bit wild. But then again, John Ray was right about Karen Vergata. So I don't believe that his daughter had anything to do with it. I don't even necessarily believe that his wife had anything to do with it. What she knew may be a different question. But in a civil lawsuit, as we know, discovery is very broad. Rex Heuermann will be deposed. His wife will be deposed. And as a party, his daughter will be deposed as well.
Let's take that into consideration on the reckless acts that were brought by this. The individual responsible acted alone. Rex Heuermann has been indicted and charged with these series of homicides, and he will have his day in court to answer for those charges, which we all know will be tomorrow morning. My clients have fully cooperated with law enforcement from the very beginning. There is no evidence that implicates them in any way. None. Unfortunately, there has now been a civil lawsuit filed that attempts to suggest otherwise. The lawsuit is reckless, irresponsible, and completely unsupported by the facts of this case. This case has been thoroughly investigated by the Gilgo Beach Task Force. My clients have cooperated during that investigation from minute one, right in front of this house in the command center post that was put out here the minute Rex Heuermann was arrested. It is deeply troubling in the wake of such tragedy that anyone would choose to advance claims that have no factual basis only to serve to further harm individuals who themselves are dealing with profound personal human trauma. My clients are trying to process the reality that someone they trusted, a husband, a father, is accused of committing unthinkable acts. They are victims in this situation as well, not perpetrators. We ask for restraint, fairness, and for the media and the public to focus on the pursuit of justice for the victims rather than amplifying unfounded, reckless allegations. There will be a time and a place to address the claims through the legal system in that process, and we plan on doing that. But today, we'd be absolutely clear. They have absolutely no involvement in the actions of Rex Heuermann, and we look to be fully exonerated in this reckless lawsuit brought by John Ray. Anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
Sources are telling us that Rex is going to plead guilty to murdering 8 people tomorrow. Your client's reaction?
Remember, this was on Tuesday. This was on Tuesday when this lawsuit was filed.
To knowing that he's going to be admitting to these murders.
Until tomorrow morning, we don't know what's going to happen in the courtroom. That's between, Rex Heuermann, his attorneys, and the district attorney's office. I'm not going to comment on any of that, any speculation on what's going to happen tomorrow.
Has Rex had any conversations with Asa ahead of tomorrow's possible plea?
He has, but again, I'm not going to discuss those conversations. So the family is prepared for whatever's going to happen tomorrow in court. They have, had conversations, with Rex over the past, several months. So they're prepared for whatever outcome is going to happen in court tomorrow.
Have they allowed him to plead guilty?
They have not been involved in the decision-making of Rex one way or another.
There's been a lot of news about them making money off of this documentary. Peacock is here. What do you say to that?
I say this is America. People are entitled to whatever they are entitled to do. This is nothing about Rex Heuermann. This is about Asa's life and her process through this, Victoria's life and her process through this whole thing. There's no comment other than that.
I didn't think that was a great answer. People are talking about a Gucci blanket around her shoulders. Have you guys ever been thrifting on Long Island? Like, the thrift stores on Long Island are full of it, are like amazing. So I don't know that she's spending anybody's money that she doesn't have on a Gucci wardrobe, the daughter, but I didn't think that was a great answer. There is no restriction from the family making money off of this story. They need to live somehow, right? I mean, he can't make money off of it. But what I find interesting about Heuermann's plea about Karen Vergata is that he now says that he met her in April, and the witness said it was Valentine's Day when they went to his house. Who's the plaintiff in this lawsuit? Is it? I didn't catch that part of it yet. Hold on. And I couldn't find it in the system yet. Oops.
Would also like to comment at all directly about?
No, she will not.
And is there any, can you go over any insight into why Rex may have changed his decision about a guilty plea? Has that been shared with the family about the reason?
That's between Rex and his legal team. We are not part of any decision-making process that took place on why or if he's going to change his plea.
Mr. Macedonia, is this a relief? Is this a relief for your clients? What's happening tomorrow?
My clients.
I also want to point out that in New York City, on every street corner, you can buy fake anything, like a pashmina like this, that looks like it has a fake Gucci logo on the back of it. Is probably like $10. Just so you know, on every corner in New York City.
Have been living a nightmare for the past 3 years. July 13th, 2023. Clients have been.
Hold on. Is this a relief for your clients? What's happening tomorrow?
My clients have been living a nightmare for the past 3 years. July 13th, 2023, their home was turned upside down. They were removed from it for 13 days. Every one of their personal items was removed, many of which we don't have back yet, wallets, passports. And then again, about a year later, they were removed for 5 more days. And again, everything searched, personal property, all their clothes, all their bedding, everything was taken. So they're looking to move on, whatever that's going to be, and put some closure to this. But again, the focus is on the victims and their families. They have been victimized. Ultimately, they will be okay. But we want to remain the focus where it is on the victims and their families.
Definitely plan to stay in the home and plan to stay.
Thank you.
We're in the problem. We'll make that decision once the conclusion of the case comes.
Thank you. It's Valerie Mack's son who is the plaintiff in the Johnny Ray lawsuit. Thank you.
Bob, how have you prepared your client to sit in court and hear those words that we've been told is going to happen? This is a dramatic change from the not guilty insistence for all this time. If he does in fact plead guilty to these crimes, how do you prepare your client to hear those words publicly?
Well, she's prepared to hear whatever's going to come out in the court tomorrow. And we've been consistent. She has never said that Rex Heuermann is not guilty. She's been consistent saying the man that she was married to, the Rex Heuermann she knows, she did not believe was capable of this crime. Just like the next door neighbor, you wouldn't want to believe the neighbor is capable of it. They're horrific allegations. Nobody would want to believe it. She's now had almost 3 years to process that, and she's prepared for whatever outcome's going to happen in court tomorrow, and she will deal with it.
But it's 3 decades in a very small living space. Were there any signs?
Ma'am, I have the full trust and faith in the Gilgo Beach Task Force, who has thoroughly investigated this case. My clients have cooperated from minute one. They have no involvement whatsoever. They have been clear in all the court filings. Asa, Victoria were not in the jurisdiction when these homicides took place, whether they were in Iceland, whether they were in New Jersey, whether they were in Vermont. They were not here. And if you look at the prosecution's case, Rex Heuermann was particular in the homicides were performed or committed when they were out of the jurisdiction. No involvement whatsoever. I have no doubt in that. Yes, yes, Jimmy.
So we understand Peacock's here and doing interviews. I mean, is there any way Ace will give us one statement despite these interviews through Peacock? We would like to hear, the public media would like to hear a statement from Ace.
There'll be an appropriate time. There still has.
Peacock probably has an exclusive. She's probably not allowed to say anything, although she did say something yesterday outside the courthouse. This was the day before. But the media's like, she's talking to Peacock. Why won't you talk to us? Can't we get something outside of Peacock? I think they still are in the house. I think they have nowhere to go. Everything's been taken from them. They have no money. So I'm not going to sit here and start accusing the family of what they knew or didn't know. But there's also that witness who points out that Karen Vergata was brought to the house allegedly in 1996 and running around naked outside, and the wife was there. So I don't know. I wasn't there.
The prosecution of a criminal case pending. They're still, until the criminal case is closed, they are not going to comment on this investigation at all.
That's why she spoke yesterday.
Family anticipating additional civil, obviously additional victims. Do you expect additional civil litigation to come?
I don't anticipate, but I am confident they have no involvement whatsoever, and any civil case that's brought is going to be reckless and will be dismissed.
First of all, you can't get blood from a rock. Okay. So in my opinion, Johnny Ray sued the wife and the daughter so that he could attach some of this Peacock money and whatever other money they make from other documentaries or from selling their stories. Cause Rex Heuermann can't make any money from selling his story because of the Son of Sam law. And so you can't get blood from a rock. How are you ever going to collect on this, John Ray? I have no idea, but, good luck, I guess.
Anybody else?
Have you had any direct contact with John Ray since that was filed? Have you had a response to him, or you just wait?
No, I'm just going to wait. I mean, honestly, Johnny has spent, like I said, the better part of a decade trying to remain relevant in this case. He has one client that he had, Shannon Gilbert, who, fortunately, unfortunately, for Miss Gilbert's passing, the other victims may have never been discovered. And he has tried to latch onto this case. He has spent tens of thousands of dollars of his own money investigating and trying to pursue some type of civil remedy against anybody that could recoup his own costs. So I have not had a conversation with John Ray. We'll address John Ray in court where it's appropriate. And frankly, we're looking into the possibility of even bringing John Ray as a defendant because of his reckless, vicious attacks on my clients through his numerous press conferences and allegations that he's made against them.
Yeah, except here's the thing, because we just went back and looked at that press conference from October of 2023 about the witness who came forward about Karen Vergata. Maybe it's because of that witness that John Ray found that he pled guilty to murdering Karen Vergata yesterday. Maybe that. Okay. So you can spew all you want about how John Ray is a whack job and he spent all his money. That's how much he wants to get justice for some of these people, because plaintiffs' lawyers don't get paid until if and when the case settles. So you're right. He's been spending tens of thousands of dollars of his own money and working for free tirelessly for 16 years for the family of Shannon Gilbert without ever being paid a penny, sir. So you bill by the hour, mostly for family court and divorce cases. So, I don't know. I don't know how people can impugn John Ray constantly when he literally has given free. He's been working for free for 16 years and spending his own money to try and get justice because he really, really, really believes in getting justice for his clients. Makazi says they also found Asa's hairs, I think, on one of the bodies. I think it was on 3 bodies. I think there were 3 hairs that were found on the bodies of, I think, 3 of the victims. Mastat, if you're going to come in here and bash plaintiffs' lawyers, I'm deleting it because I am one. So that will not be tolerated. But thank you for your opinion. They also fight for lots of other things, like victims of the Catholic Church sex scandal, as I did. So there you go. And her hairs could have been anywhere. I mean, if he was dismembering people, like the early victims that he dismembered, he had to have a place to do it, right? Anybody ever watch Dexter? Here, let's put Dexter up in the corner. He had to have had some sort of kill room and a place to do it. It's messy. Where did he do it? Remember didn't they take the plumbing out of that house? Because the house that they still live in is the house that he grew up in. Coincidence? I think not. Let's finish this out.
So John Ray may find himself as a civil defendant one day in this whole action.
Based on what? What would your allegations
All right, plans
be?
after tomorrow's court proceeding. So is she going to go?
We'll have an additional statement to make tomorrow after the court proceeding, which will address whatever's going to go on tomorrow morning in court.
And
did see that.
did she have plans to go and visit Rex in jail after that?
Not going to discuss any of that right now. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right. And so that was the presser after the civil lawsuit was filed on behalf of the son of Valerie Mack the day before the guilty plea. So to sum up, if you're just joining, smash the like button. If you're on the replay, please smash the like button today. I mean, not today, yesterday. I'm losing days because of my travel. I'm losing days. Yesterday, Rex Heuermann changed his plea to guilty and pled guilty to the murders of the following victims: Maureen Brainard-Barnes, age 25, from 2007. Melissa Barthelemy, age 24, from 2009. Shannon Gilbert, I'm sorry, not Shannon Gilbert. Forget it. Back to one. Maureen Brainard-Barnes, 25, from 2007. Melissa Barthelemy, age 24, from 2009. Megan Waterman, age 22, from 2010. Amber Costello, 27, from 2010. Jessica Taylor, age 20, who went missing in 2003. Valerie Mack, age 24, from the year 2000. Karen Vergata, which was the one that had not been charged, from 1996, and Sandra Costilla, age 28, from 1993. In exchange for Heuermann pleading guilty, he gave up his right to appeal, and the sentence that was recommended by Ray Tierney, who is the district attorney for Suffolk County, New York, was on counts 1 through 3, murder 1, LWOP, life without parole; 3, life without parole sentences to be served consecutively. On charges 7, counts 7 through 10, 25 to life to be served consecutively; 3, 25 to life sentences. He gave up his right to appeal. He will not be formally prosecuted, even though he pled guilty to the Karen Vergata case, and that there will be no further prosecutions against him for the 8 victims, which to whose murders he pleaded guilty to. He also must cooperate truthfully with the FBI's behavioral analysis unit so that they can study him. Maybe, I don't know, try and find some other victims, or try and understand what makes serial killers tick, or try and help find other serial killers. And I'm sure he will be in his very narcissistic element when he does that. Happy 15 months to you and me, Peaches. Welcome back. Thanks for being here for 15 months. And let's see. Sabrina says, when they finally run his DNA through CODIS, they will find several more victims. I happen to agree with you on that. In New York, you can't put anybody's DNA into CODIS until they are actual convicted felons. And so his will go in. We didn't listen to that part of the press conference, but Ray Tierney did say that he had been cooperating throughout with any other states who wanted it. I don't know how true that is. Noni Mack wanted to know what happened to the police chief over Mr. Ray's left shoulder. That was Rodney Harrison. He left shortly after that press conference. Nobody really knows why. Allie in Texas says the evidence found on Jones Beach that Melanie has talked about before is haunting. Yep, they found a whole like stash in a hole, right, of women's purses and clothing and shoes and stuff. And Rex Heuermann worked at Jones Beach in high school. Bara says, thanks, Melanie. John Ray needs his flowers. I've met him in court. If you look at my intro, there's a selfie I took with John Ray. I happen to think he's a fierce advocate, but a lot of people don't like him. Karen has a hearing today at 4 p.m. Are any news organizations going to be live streaming it? Because I don't think I can live. I have the Zoom login information, but I don't think that I'm allowed to live stream it. I would like to cover it, but if I can't stream it, I can't. So I have to find out, does anybody know if any mainstream is going to cover it, like Boston 25, Boston 10, Law and Crime, because it's a virtual hearing. And, you know, they have very strict rules about people restreaming their Zooms. And, you know, there's so many people out there that just like to report. channels and try and get him taken down. So I'm not risking that. But if it's going to be streamed mainstream, I'll just come on and do it because I can restream a mainstream channel doing it. So until I know that for sure, I just don't know. There is plenty of information showing that he traveled to other states, South Carolina, North Carolina. He had a place in Las Vegas. And so there could be many other cases that he could be involved with, including the New Bedford Highway cases, which were back in like 2006. The Eastbound Strangler was 2006. I did a whole show on that. Check the playlist below for all of my prior streams on everything having to do with Long Island serial killer and Long Island cold cases. I had a note in here about the New Bedford highway killings, but right now I can't find it. A New Bedford highway killer. That was March 88 to April 89. And where was that? Was that Massachusetts? Is that the one you're talking about? So who knows? We don't know yet. Could be many. Yes, right. New Hampshire, when we covered that before, if you weren't here, we went back and covered the John Ray press conference from October 2023, in which Karen Vergata is mentioned at the house running around naked outside, and the wife was there. And so there's that. Oh, Janine, you got your tie-dye sweatshirt from the drawing today. It just came today. Oh, do you live in the UK? Is that why? I love it. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. And No House, No Fouls is getting ready to watch that playlist. Thank you. Also, Fall River, Massachusetts in the 1990s, says Mary. Lorelei says, I was thinking about that in New Bedford. Scott McGinnis, did you not watch my show that I did the other day on Farwell and the DNA being found on the ligature? That's like 3 days ago already. I went over all the federal papers. All the federal papers. Tell me you didn't watch it without telling me you didn't watch it. And not only was his DNA found on the ligature used to strangle her, his semen was in her underwear. So does that mean that he went over to Sandra Birchmore's to have a booty call with Sandra Birchmore and then murdered her? What does that mean to you? How disgusting is that? That guy should fry. I can't believe they took the death penalty away for that guy. But everyone from Stoughton PD is rolling over on him. They've all got it. Really, his semen was found in her underwear and his DNA was on the ligature, and nobody ever thought to even ask him for a sample or test him or even had any intellectual curiosity to try and find out whose DNA it was. Norfolk County is effed. That's why they call it Norfolk County. Norfolk County is effed. And that, my friends, is what I call complete and total. Imagine going and having a booty call with the girl you're having an affair with, who's pregnant with who you think is your baby, and then strangling her. And then staging it to make it look like she took her own life. Well done to you, Farwell. Well done. That's horrific. Absolutely horrific. All right. I'm going to have to find out if anybody's going to be live streaming this Karen Reed hearing. Otherwise, I'm just going to go into the Zoom and report on it to you after. So just make sure you have all notifications set. Make sure that you are still subscribed. Make sure that you like the stream, comment after it's over. Everything helps the algorithm, and YouTube is trying to push people away from long form content and pushing them towards shorts. So there's that. For those of you who like shorts, you may wonder why. You're getting more shorts pushed on you. I hope they find more victims too. Yep. There were over 100,000 photos and videos taken from Rex Heuermann's house, is what you're saying, right? Yep. And we still have to cover Justin's family's filing about Kelsey. I want to wait and see when she files a response. Maybe we'll do them both together at the same time. I also want to go over the Commonwealth statement of the case on Enrique Delgado Garcia and everything that we know about all of the shenanigans that the troopers that are charged with the death of Enrique Delgado Garcia knew, didn't know, did, and didn't do. So we still need to go on over to that. So make sure you come back and check and see if we're able to cover Karen Reed. That is a 4 p.m. hearing in Plymouth Civil Court in Plymouth. Okay. So if I can, I will. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. Thanks for coming to hang out with me today. Thank the moderators for keeping it classy because, you know, people will wait 48 hours just to come in here and troll because they have a tenacity, if nothing else. All right, you guys, I will see you real soon, maybe at 4 o'clock. So come back, stay tuned, and peace. Love you guys. And I'll see you real soon. Bye.